that's not.
Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our January 7th budget meeting. So this meeting is a special meeting for council to undertake 2025 budget deliberations. And since our meeting on December 16th, we've had 3 weeks to work with staff to get any clarification or updates that we need to help us move forward with the budget. So I'm going to call the meeting to order and start off the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. I'm going to ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate so it doesn't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind everyone of the declaration of pecuniary interest. If it arises, declare it then. And for delegations, we didn't have anybody register for delegations online. So the next item here will be moving right into the business of the day. So Lionel, introduction to your part.
Thank you, Chair. Hope everybody on council found the first session informative. With council now making motions and debating motions, I can update our budget workbook as we go along to have a up-to-date look at our tax rate or proposed tax rate increase as those motions are brought forward. I do have some housekeeping items that reflect information that we've received since the budget book was finalized. So I was planning on bringing those up as we go through each of the departments in the budget book. So that's all I had to discuss today before we got into business.
All right, then. So next item on here, Bob, is there anything you want to add before we get started?
No, through you, Mayor Martin. I think the treasurer's introduced it well.
Okay, then. So we'll move right into Economic Development Officer and Sherry. We are going to try and Leah's going to try and keep up to date on the screen here. Hopefully that helps.
Just give us a page, that'll help too.
Page 19.
Thank you.
Oh, I have my pen.
So is everybody, do you have the agenda? Has everybody got the agenda like
I had it.
it's online?
Right, page 21 is economic. Sorry about that. Yeah.
All right, then. Very,
Through you, Mayor Martin, since we provided presentations before Christmas, there were 3 items that were flagged that were going to be confirmed in the latter process following my presentation. One was village banners and lights. The 50,000 was allocated to my budget. It was confirmed that it was taken out of Parks and Rec, which I think it was. The rebranding project is a one-time expense and was going to be moved out of the ops budget. And the visitor center staffing was an item that was included more as a form of insurance to make sure that there was funding should the chambers require assistance in the summer. Were there any additional questions?
questions? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Oops, sorry. Through you, Mayor Martin. Sherry, you stated that the Peterborough Tourism is looking to fund one full-time employee or
Through you, Mayor Martin, you'll remember that this past summer, we requested assistance from council initiatives to ensure that we had staffing covered. And council awarded a part-time resource for the visitor kiosk along Highway 7. We worked with Peterborough and Kawartha Chamber as well as the Havelock Chamber. And as it was identified, the Peterborough and Kawartha Chamber was still looking to fill one position of their Canada Summers jobs. So they decided to fill that with a resource that was staffed here. We worked with them prior to the end of 2024 to include this tourism visitor center as part of their Canada Summers jobs application. So there was one resource that they allocated for this center, but there aren't any guarantees that they will get the Canada Summers jobs funding. So at the request and guidance of Bob, it was being included in this budget. So there were no surprises to you if we come back to you in the spring saying that we weren't awarded funding through the government.
thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Okay, Kathy, go ahead.
Sure, you remember, Sherry, on number 17, the rebranding, does that include signage?
Yes, actually, it's a breakdown of signs. It's a rough breakdown of signs, including buildings, buildings, gateway signs, our major entry signs. I have that particular estimate. So municipal owned signs, not including the arena because of the size of that. And because we're undergoing the expansion project, assuming that the new sign will be included in that, was roughly 18,000. Transfer stations 4, parks and playgrounds 7, boat launches 7, large village sign, 4 gateway signs at the visitor center kiosk.
Okay. Questions for Sherry? Jerry, go ahead and then Art.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So that means that the budget will be reduced to 37,294 then, is that what we're looking at?
When you eliminate the one-time 33,300, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Art, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, just kind of what Councillor Clement was talking about. So for the rebranding project, were we gonna separate that out as a capital project? Out of the operating? Anyway.
Yeah, that was the
So-
question that was just asked.
Yeah, so as Sherry mentioned, that was discussed, so if council so chose, they can make a motion to flip it over and then I could update the spreadsheet and give everybody the updated proposed tax rate, because that would be coming out of the operating and going into capital, and it would be supported by drop in the admin reserve.
Did that as a motion.
Yeah, I'm good.
You moving that?
Yeah, Just-
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we,
that's a one out for
Yeah.
it, so.
okay, and second by Councillor Doherty. Any questions around that? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. Anything else on there? Hearing none, so then we move into the department review. Page 17.
17?
I don't know if there's any questions or. What's the changes there?
Being done. I'll move on to the capital review, page 99. So. Okay, so the downtown revitalization. I did have,
101.
what's that?
It's on page 101.
Yeah, I got 99 here, but it's
It's included in 99.
okay. Yeah, I see it on the top there.
Yep.
But if you go over to 101,
It breaks it.
yeah, so we did have some discussion there around removing the interlock and it was almost $200,000. It's not really gonna help the tax rate from what I understand, it's the OMPF, but if we didn't go ahead with the interlock and the trees, that's almost $200,000 that could go back into OMPF for other uses. And I think we had a lengthy discussion at the last meeting around that, and most were okay with removing the interlock part of the construction, and the trees was discussed. I just got them in separate things here. What's council's thoughts on that? The interlock was 168.7 and the trees were 21.5. So, you know, with all the work that we got facing us on that road there, that I thought through discussion was a little bit over the top. What we were comfortable with last meeting, but it's up to council today. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I think we were going to get somebody to re-quote on this with the new information, because we take the interlocking out, something's going to have to go in there, so it's not going to be a complete wash, I wouldn't think, but. Yeah, did we get it? Were we getting a new quote, or we were just math on this one?
Through you, Mayor Martin. Bob and I have talked about this, and I've reached out to Pat Schick as well. I have not heard back from Pat. But what we've done is I'm looking, you're referring to the interlocking break. There's two references in the images provided. There's the corners, the angled corners that are sidewalks. And then there's also what appears to be like an interlocking brick or even stamped across the crosswalk. So I had two clarifying questions, which is he makes reference to two different materials being used in the, as he referred to them, I guess it's the intersections. So you remember there's one that's just a standard stamp and the other has a rubberized material to it, almost twice as much. And you'll make a note to that down below. Exactly, almost doubles in cost. Assuming that what we're replacing with the interlocking brick is simply a concrete, we've asked him to come back with those numbers. This doesn't require a report to council, as my understanding, doesn't require another delegation or presentation. It's just, what does that look like in terms of swapping out the corner interlocking brick with a sidewalk concrete? And then we also need some direction from council in terms of the crosswalks. Remember, there are two materials that they've quoted on.
Yeah, rubberized and
That's right.
so, yeah, so for today, you're right. We need a cost on the other, right? I don't even know whether we need that. It's gotta have something down there. So it's not gonna be a wash at 200,000.
68,000.
But I think the discussion at the last meeting, if we had a motion that we removed the interlocking brick from that, and the trees is another piece of it. If you want them out of there, that's up to council. For today, if we had a motion that we remove those and bring back a report on the cost of the
Through you, Mayor Martin, the other question that we discussed recently was, instead of bringing power from the north side of the street underneath the roadway to the south side of the street, could we, once we electrify the Patterson Parquet, can the source of the electricity from, let's say, the south side of Patterson Parquet then travel across, I guess, west, right? Or on this side of the road is 3 decorative lights, and then on the other side too, the post office is 2. So that's something else that we'll have to get updated in the quotation.
Yeah. Yeah, like we have 4,500 in here for power to Patterson Parquet to get it to that side of the road. So that's gonna have to come back to us to firm it up.
And I just make sure that I'm giving the right clarification to Pat, is what we're talking about is having a conduit that runs in the sidewalk as opposed to disrupting the roadways and that sort of thing. Simple, easy, doesn't require a concrete chamber of some sort for that electricity.
That was some of that discussion, yeah. So, Bev, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The lights that are, the decorative lights, off of the poles, are we not putting decorative lights on the south side as well?
Through you, Mayor Martin, this quotation includes both. It includes the light standard and the decorative lamp, which is the nice black. It has that retro feel. It also includes, if you want, just that decorative head on the tall wooden pole. That's something the council should look at closely, because when I look at other communities that have that, even images, kind of lose sight of that wooden pole when you have the decorative signposts. It might be a way to reduce the cost, just leave the lamps where they are and really focus on the more beautiful decorative lamps.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up question. So I understand that on the north side of the street, I'm talking about the south side of the street, there's going to be poles with decorative lighting
Through
on
you, Mayor
that.
Martin, yes, every light standard will have the lamp, 5 of them across the south side of the street.
There's no poles on the south side of the street.
This costing is the installation of those poles.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Sorry, Sherry.
Okay. Art, go ahead, and then Jerry.
Yeah, through just, to Councillor Doherty's, point, I think, there will be some added cost there. I don't know how much it would be, but even if we take that out, I think a lot of these decisions are still up in the air as well. Like, I know we've thrown around in terms of what lights were gonna be put there, but I don't think that final decision has been made in terms of the style and whatnot, so I think, well, this is coming out of a PF anyway, so we don't really have to budget extra, but just be aware that I think, I think we're probably gonna be closer to the 2 to 250 number on that. I knocked it down to 175, but I think that's gonna creep up with a few possible additions moving forward. Can we get that done, right? I don't think it's gonna come in, like you said, there's gonna be more there. We don't know what it is, but there'll be an extra 50 to 100,000 or something probably going over there, so.
Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
For you, Mr. Mayor, the rubberized asphalt pedestrian crosswalks, I have a question for Pat. What's that look like in North America, north of the 49th, with snow, water, snow plowing on a regular basis? To me, I just can't see it standing up, but Pat could probably add some light to that.
Through Mayor Martin, just so that I've got the right language to go back to Pat, it's really to ask him the durability of that material. What's the lifespan? The durability under maintenance and snow and all of that? Is that what you're asking? Is it something that?
The rubberized.
Yeah. What's like, is that the question you'd like me to pose to him?
Yeah, it will stand up. That's really the question. It's very nice. It's probably beautiful, but if we got to replace it in 2 years, it becomes less beautiful. No, I guess that's a real question. Or why can't we just do stamped? I don't. Anyway.
Yeah, he talked about alternatives today, so maybe you can just get it clarified whether, because I thought he said the rubber was good. It was a better alternative, but it might have been the stamp that he said was the better for our climates than, I know the interlock part of it, he said, like, I think the question was brought up, interlock and it starts heaving and going all over the place. I think he agreed there, but just, yeah, we should know which the best alternative is if we want to beautify the intersection.
Thank you.
Councillor Clement?
So through you, Mayor Martin, for today, I think definitely we can get rid of the trees. I think we all decided we don't have room for trees. So I think that definitely will just be removed for today anyways.
Yeah. What's that?
Both the interlocking, we know we don't want that.
Yeah, I think the interlock, do you want the interlock in there with that too, or do you want to wait till we?
No, I thought we decided, we decided we're off the interlock, but I'm just saying there might be other kind of.
Yeah, that's
trinkets
okay.
or whatever we might add into that, right? So
So for today, if we had a motion that removed the interlock and the trees, and bring back the costing for. Okay,
the lighting, yeah.
so Kathy, do you want to move that? All right, we're seconding that. Any questions around that? All in favor? It's carried. Um, Any other questions around those items? That's right.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So I understand this is capital budget, so it really doesn't affect the tax rate. So are we still installing the garbage cans and what's the concrete bench?
Through you, Mayor Martin, on page 101, if you look to the bottom of the listing, install decorative garbage cans, 2,500, stop sign and pole assembly, 5,000, some concrete benches as well, 7,500. So the beautification will be there.
As of now, they're still in there.
Okay, all right, so that would be decided at a later time. I'm not sure where you're putting these benches.
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Sherry. That's mine, Jack.
Through you, Mayor Martin, we will certainly request that a concept drawing be brought to council before this all moves forward.
Okay.
So we'll all see exactly where everything's going to be.
Okay. All right. Any other questions around that for Sherry? All right.
So what we're asking for the changes, so we're approving nothing then, as far as the budget's concerned?
No, just that we're removing that other and we'll get some
We're
costing.
removing the other, what, the trees? I got it.
Trees and the interlocks,
And the interlock without replacement.
and we'll get a costing of what's gonna replace it for the next meeting.
Okay, so this will become back as in its entirety then.
Without the interlock, and it'll come back with what it would look, what the cost of sidewalk is gonna be if it needs to be in there. Go ahead, Bob.
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Doherty. So everything will stay as is unless a motion is made today to make a change. So everything will be assumed to be adopted.
So basically, it's unless you want to, look at anything else there, it's taking out one, but it's going to bring back the actual costing because there will be something else there. So it's not going to be like 200,000 removed. There's going to be a cost for the sidewalks. Now, maybe these are enhancements, so it might have already been in there. Yeah, like it might have already been in the original budget. All of these things in here are enhancements. So there might not be any other cost because the sidewalk was a part of the budget. So.
Through Mayor Martin, this is a question more to Bob. Just to clarify for my benefit, just moving forward, in the original design of the roadways include all curbs and sidewalks. This was ancillary. We asked them for more decorative designs, so that would not be included in here. You should be able to take that full line out.
I think so.
You have sidewalks that will be as part of the original George Street reconstruction.
That's right.
Through you, Mr. I just, because it's coming out of OFP or OMP, we just kind of say, well, it's not affecting the tax rate. But this is the first thing on the budget, and we may want to use that money somewhere else.
Yeah.
We don't know what we're going to be using or have if we don't have a number here that we start out with. So that was my point.
So for the next meeting, theoretically, if there was, let's just use round numbers, if there was 200,000 put back into OMPF because we're not using it here, you're right, the OMPF is still there. If we need it for something else, we can pull it back out of OMPF. But right now, if this was to go through as it is right now, and that 200 is still available for us to work with here to help the tax rate in a kind of a different way, to save us using tax money, we could pull it from OMPF if there's, say, an increase in the cost of doing George Street next year. We'll have some money there to use that wasn't there if we went with this interlocking stone. So that's just an example, but you're right. It's this is money that will be available to us. It just maybe won't be used for interlock or trees. like it's there for us to use for other things. Other questions? Okay, go ahead. No, that's fine. That's what we're
Through
here
you, Mayor Martin. Sherry, what's installed raised stone and flower bed edging?
Let me just find that. So it's difficult to note that without showing the designs. But you'll remember, when this report came to you back in late November, early December, that there were planters, there were beds and whatnot. So beyond just the curb, they also included around those trees, some planters and what have you. So that's my understanding, is that that's the raised stone flower bed edging. So by removing the trees, you're also removing that item. I'll confirm that with Pat, but that's my understanding.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
It looks like a separate price though for that. Eh?
It is.
So it might be still in there right now, and that's, yeah, clarify that. I think no matter what, like when you look at what they've done on the first phase, like starting of the George Street, I'm getting lots of compliments on you know, even that armor stone that they ended up bringing farther down the street. You know, as they get working on it, it's like a moving target. There is things that pop up that they didn't, you know, that kind of show the incline more than what it was supposed to be. So a lot of people are really happy with where we're at so far, and I think no matter what we do moving forward, it's going to be beautiful. So, okay. Any other questions on that part of it? Okay, the next or the economic development operating, is that
Remember, I can repeat that, sorry.
the economic development operating and capital here, page 19 and 99. We did that. Did that already? Okay. All right then, so thank you, Carrie. And we're gonna move into council overview on page 23. The computer was bigger than I thought, so. Okay, so council overview is up there on the screen. With everything there that jumps out at you.
Yes.
It's 22.
22 and 23. And it's-
All right, we need some music here.
There. My phone rings in my computer apparently.
So the one thing that you did in this year's was from last year's is just topping up the reserves that for what we've used last year, so didn't look as bad as last year's did when we first looked at it. And the community doctor initiatives is in there. That's why there's such an increase. Any questions around that?
Through you, Mayor Martin. So in 2024, we had budgeted 5,000 for the tree planting. We did offer trees to the community, right? But we didn't, it doesn't show as being spent there. That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's every other year that we do it.
Every other year. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Any other questions around council? Hearing none. The next item here is the cemetery overview, page 32.
Thirty-two cemetery. 33.
So they have done a lot of work up there. They have this new section that they've installed this year. They just put some rocks and identification things. So lots going on there, and there's a lot of change here. Questions around these coming today? Conservation Authority, page 35. Right, and we're just starting into the budget, so you've allotted a number there. Lionel, work with.
Through you, Chair. Yes, we have assumed for now, 5% increase to the actual 2024 conservation levies. And we have once again included an amount for the potential in-year additional levies if we were to join the Lower Trent Conservation Authority, and that additional levies, if we were to join Lower Trent, were assumed to be 9,025. So that is what encompasses the 2025 number.
So with the Crow, I think the draft, next week is I think it's on the 19th is our meeting or somewhere up in there. We're at a draft of 5.6, somewhere in there, but we haven't even started, whittling it down. So as far as the other Conservation Authority, that's been around a couple of years, and I don't know, I don't want to put you on the spot, Travis, but is that something that we need to do, or is that to join? I think it was for the southeast corner of our township that we were having some issues. Do we need to do that?
So I think that's been to council a little bit in the past as a Bob, and then it's not mandatory, but it would be at council's direction.
Okay. So that's something we can look at to see if we need to do it. It's $9,000. So any questions around conservation? Hearing none, we'll move into library operating, page 52. And capital is 114, so page 52 for library. Like I say, we had some good discussion at the last, some of these things, there isn't a lot of movement, but there's some things that we still got to tweak, we still have time, so today, or if you had a chance to speak to staff about these things in the last 3 weeks, to get clarification, that helps move forward, so. Wasn't a huge change in the library, so. Gary, you had a question?
As you remember, there's no expenses for personnel for Cordova. They don't have any people already.
Both under Havelock, because he's an assistant. So I believe we showed them both under main Havelock one.
Okay, so it's all in one. Okay, thank you.
Questions? Go ahead.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, 16,000 for books and videos.
Yes.
So the last time I was in there, I don't think you can get any more books in there.
So through you there, Martin. So what happens basically is each library trades their books over to each other, and then you call them at some point and you have new ones. The probably one of the biggest expenses would be like the online books that costs us. I don't know a better way of explaining it really.
These are very low.
I know it looks like a lot of books are in there, but we have a library transfer system, so if you go in, you can get one. And then every so many months it is, they actually take a box of books and they trade them among each other. So the first one will be disposed of and they're replaced. It's sort of, it's an ongoing process every year to get new books, but the biggest expense would be the online. And they are very popular, especially in your genealogy courses, that kind of stuff, that all adds up.
So every year looks like it's 16,000, so they have a turnover every year.
Yeah, they do. It's and the other thing is because we pay for, like, anyone can go in and use the what's the genealogy course? A lot of people pay like $200 a year, whatever. It's free at the library, so that's incorporated in our cost too. So
the budget from last year to this year has gone up $900. So okay. All right. Cost of living. Oh, on the information technology. It's like
Credit and service. Yeah, sure.
yeah. Insurance and information technology went up, but yeah, so
that's
it's pretty flat
Doesn't change much.
now. Okay. So the capital side of the library is on page 114. Again. Okay, so, okay, go ahead, Beth.
Through you, Mayor Martin. I noticed that the revenues for the library are the same as last year. Can you explain that?
So a lot of the items at your library are free. That's really, the one thing is membership. It brings us sort of in a revenue type of thing. So yeah, there's not a lot of revenue. It is funded by between us, the government, grants, that kind of thing. So you're not gonna get much income.
So you're saying that the revenue is the memberships to be a part of the library? I thought memberships were free.
Well, okay, they are to a certain, you can also give donations or whatever too. But there's certain memberships that we have to apply to, I guess, would be saying for like the genealogy stuff. Some of that there are prices for. You're right, overall membership as such. I'm not explaining this very well and I apologize.
Lionel was gonna help you there. So.
Okay, Lionel.
Through you, Chair, the vast majority of the revenue is the 2773 provincial grant, and it's stayed the same, I believe, for almost a decade. So their own source revenue is completely flat. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, how do they get a reserve in library? How does that work? Is that?
Through you, Chair, there hasn't been a whole lot of additions to it. Quite honestly, I'm not entirely sure about the genesis of what's in there, but they don't end up having any large surpluses by any means. I think they basically work to their budget. So there could have been sale of something in the past. I can't think what that would be, but
would a donation fall under that? Or?
There could have been some donations. There could have been people leaving the money in bequests. Like I'm not honestly sure, to be honest, how it started, but their reserve isn't massive. There's a little bit of money in there for capital expenses, but it wouldn't go up and down as much as, say, some of the departments and HBM.
Lionel, would part of that be when they did the fundraiser through the community fund and that kind of thing? Because they did get I think 15,000 through 55.
Yeah, future, that's exactly it. Something like that. It doesn't seem like a lot, but it can mean a lot of money. So yeah, the cookies were quite lucrative. I do
Yes.
remember that.
They were
And tasty.
a lot of work.
So. Any other questions with regards to the library capital? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to the police building. Page 65. So. Lionel?
Through Chair, as most of us know in the meeting, on December 19th, the Municipal Policing Bureau sent out a communication announcing that there would be support from the province for municipal policing budgets that contracted with the OPP. So in that letter, it was announced that our build amount for 2025 would be decreasing from 1,443,614 to 1,240,418, or a difference of 203,196. So as we all know, this was very welcome because of the massive increase that we were seeing for 2025. It's also been something that's been discussed at the municipal level in other municipalities that this is, by all accounts, a 1-year assistance. So by itself, this decrease of 203,000 would decrease a tax rate by about 2.7, but the problem is we will probably see this increase in 2026, or at least a part of that increase in 2026. So depending on what council so chooses with this decrease, there could be an amount set aside in the police reserve to help absorb that increase in 2026. So the change for a tax rate could be anywhere from 0 to 2.7%.
So Lionel, years ago, there used to be spikes happening big time. So I know council of the day, we created a big reserve because there were huge increases that we were getting then. Since then it's leveled off, so there is money sitting in the reserve for that. Are we adding to that reserve, or should we just, do we have enough in there that like we haven't used it in a lot of years, so I just wonder if we should be using that reserve and not adding to it. So just what's your thoughts?
Future, it's certainly up to council. I mean, as I said, this was great news to get this information, but the awards from their collective bargaining certainly are still there, regardless of what this letter said from the province. Their inflationary pressures are still there. So if you look at the increase that we were supposed to be getting, which was 18% this year, I'm going to have to assume that the actual increase outside of any assistance will be technically over 20 next year. So if they don't provide this assistance, so my personal recommendation would be to set some money aside in the budget, not all of it, of course, but something, because we just don't know what we're going to be facing next year.
Okay. And that's something we can look at for the next budget, though. Like, yeah, we got to get through this transition, but there is a huge, like, I know the staffing increases and things like that. So if it does come back to us next year, if we're prepared for that, it might be worthwhile looking at that reserve for next budget, highlighting it and just seeing if we're carrying too much in there. We're always worried about carrying too big a reserve. That's one that we maybe look at and see if things are going to level off a bit. It's all a crystal ball thing, but okay. So the recommendation from Lionel there is to put that away, and any of the thing that's coming from the province here just to be prepared as everything else happens with council. Gary, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to see us put 100 of that savings into reserve and leave the balance there to go towards the bill. And we've got a new line item of 20,000, which will only go up in years to come, so we'll probably need to read the reserves anyway. But that's
Okay.
why-
That's your motion?
Sure.
Okay. All right, is there a seconder for the motion? Deb seconding that? Okay, any questions around that? All in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay. Next item on here is source water overview. Page 87. Any questions on that? Go ahead, Terry.
Mr. Mayor, does that include our new dispenser? Is it the revenue stream? Is that where this is located?
No. Source water, Lionel, just source water is source water protection, is that what?
It says source water, it says source water and then water, that's.
Future, that is just the amount that we would be paying to, I believe, Orca. And for 2025, you'll see that number did go down. They had looked at their apportionment for their municipalities, and we actually won this time, so it actually went down. That is a firm number for 2025.
Question, I don't know if anybody here is gonna go answer this, but so for 2025, we got 150,000 in there for maintenance. Major maintenance. But we've got 150 for a new water source.
That's something separate from source water,
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
not.
Yeah, that'll be coming up probably later.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm water fund.
Yeah.
Apologize. Yeah, apologize.
So if there's no questions around source water. It's pretty slight change there, so. Okay, so we'll move into Travis's portion of the morning. Travis, welcome.
Morning. Morning.
Through your items on here, with regards to the animal control review on page 25. Changes too much, but go ahead.
Yes, so no change, everything to last meeting, just. In one direction.
Any questions around the animal control overview? Right. No questions, we'll move into the billing department operating overview on 28. So
But again, no change or questions around that from last meeting.
okay. Go ahead, Kathy.
Mayor Martin, this is something I forgot. Travis and I were talking. He ran a very successful program before the previous township. And we need to add, if we could, bring back, it's a septic maintenance program and use a student for 16 weeks. I believe you have money for one student. Do we need to look for something for a second student? Can you help me out on this, Travis?
Sure. Through you, Mr. Mayor, if it's council's wish to look at implementing a sewage system maintenance program, then we would have to include some monies in the budget for students, and there'd be a bunch of mailings as well, but mostly just the students would be the cost.
So with it coming today, the best way would be to, like, if council wants to look into that, it would have to come back at the next meeting on what we would be looking at for a cost, so, because there would be a cost to it, so we wouldn't be passing it today. It would be a thing to see if council's got any flavor to, look at a septic maintenance program, first of all. And then, we would have to find out what the cost would be if we were to implement anything like that, so. Councilor Doherty, go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, what exactly is this program? Travis, can you just give me just a brief thumbnail?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, just the way we ran it in North Coast, it was over 5 years where we went to every property in the township. We started with the lakes, set out mailings for the amount of properties we were going to do that year. So it was a questionnaire with number of bedrooms, fixtures, floor area, that sort of stuff, and then gathered the septic information. Lucky for us, now we have all the septic information from Peterborough Public Health. So we have that. So it would be a questionnaire go out to the properties that we're going to attend. And training, we hired 2 students. Really depends on the students we get. We were fortunate up there, we got good students. So I took them out and trained them for a week or so. And then they were on their own to go out and do the inspection. They'd go out, attend the property. They'd do a visual inspection, see if there's any issues with the septic, if there's trees growing on it. Just mostly a lot of it is education and recommendations. But we dealt with the old, still found the old drums. You found the pipes that were going nowhere, that were maybe getting to the lakes, that sort of stuff. So those were the main ones that we focused on. And it comes down to whether there'd be any charge for the inspection or not.
Okay, thanks, Travis.
All right, so, yeah, so if it's worth getting a price to what it would look like, that would be our next step, because we don't know what it would cost. Is that possible for the next meeting, Travis? Would you be able to put together something if council, I guess the first part would be to say, is council interested in looking into the main program? The second part would be authorizing staff to get a price for the budget. I don't know. What's your thoughts?
So through you, Mayor Martin. So I think, environmentally and with students, going forward, and it was very successful before. It's for existing sewage. It's not for new, it's existing. And there's a lot of cottages and places out there. Like, I'd like to see it move forward, or at least be able to look at it at the next meeting, if that's possible. If you want to back me on that.
So when you say 5 years, like, so I remember the one up there, so I don't know how they broke the township into 5 sections, I imagine. So Jack's Lake has been done, a third of it's already been done then through North Kawartha. So if you were to do a pilot project on Jack's Lake to do this, to finish the lake, and we would understand what's involved and what kind of impact, like, I don't know what the numbers were, like, when you did it, like, because they don't take the lid off or anything, do they? They just do an visual inspection of the property and, like you said, trees, any abnormal water discharges. So, to do Jack's Lake, I'm just going to say, is that a possibility?
It's through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, that would be my recommendation, that we start with Jack Lake, because half of it's already done, or much of it's already done. And I can certainly bring a report back to the next meeting, some numbers and information for you. If it's council's wish.
Yeah. Right. So if you want to make the motion that we have staff and we'll see where it goes.
So I'd like to pass a motion that we have staff bring back a report to us on what it would cost and students.
To do Jack's Lake.
Or Jack's Lake, because it's half done.
Okay, so the motion is on the floor. Is there a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second the motion. Just around the question, I understand the part of a pilot project. I'm concerned about, say, somebody on Jack's Lake, like what. So we run the pilot project, somebody goes out to their cottage and they find something wrong. Then what?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and that's what happens. So those are the ones that we deal with. So the students bring back the issue to me. We send, if the owner's not there for the inspection, we send them a letter. hopefully they reach out to us. Worst case, if there's sewage leaking out or something, we could issue an order immediately if we had to. So you're gonna find stuff that needs to be dealt with for sure.
So my whole, thank you for that, Travis, but what I'm getting at here is that with the pilot project, right? So the people on Jack's Lake are gonna get hit, right? So if,
Yeah,
and then the other lakes aren't, that's my problem. And I understand in terms of trying to run a pilot project, but I mean, we gotta be fair to
Yeah.
everybody here, so. If I'm
so
on
maybe
Jack's
the
Lake,
pilot I shouldn't have said maybe pilot project, because you're right, if you're gonna do it, I guess that's the one, if you were starting on Jack, like. Next year, we would have a better idea what's ahead, right? So, go ahead, Bob, and then.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I word the motion that it would commence with Jack Lake. Yeah, and carry on to others.
okay, thank you through that. I understand that. To me, it's still, if I'm on Round Lake, I'm saying, why doesn't it start, you know what I mean? Or if I'm on Jack's Lake, I say, why doesn't it start on Round Lake? Maybe I don't want, you know what I mean? Like, in terms of how we be fair to everybody, why, instead of picking one lake, right? But why wouldn't you just pick people as they come in? Like, we're gonna start alphabetically, so you start at the A's and away you go. Like, to me, that would be a fair way, right? Instead of doing a lake by lake kind of.
That's true. Part of the reason we do lake by lake is, especially if we're going to Jack Lake, the students go up there for the day, they hit a fire road and they can do 8 or 10, 15 a day, right? They're right there and they can go door to door. So that's part of the reason we went lake by lake.
Yeah, no, I completely understand. I'm just getting that. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
Be the devil's advocate here, and
No,
then
you're right.
wherever we start, right, they're gonna say, why did you start here? Especially the guy that has to replace the septic tank. He's gonna say, why am I, you know, and to your point, we gotta start somewhere. So I'm okay with, the other thing that I would like, I was wondering if there's any, possibly because it's an environmental issue, if there's grant money that we could use here to fund said students or whatever we're doing. So if possibly staff could look into that to see if there's any, I don't know if the environmental grants would be applicable to something like this in terms of salary, but if there's any money we can.
So yeah, I'm not sure about the grants, but we could certainly look into that as well.
Thank you.
So, Jerry, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So what we're saying is we're gonna open up a can of worms for everybody that's not on services in the village. Yeah, is that, am I correct?
Oh, I didn't voted on anything.
That's what we're gonna vote on.
Yeah, I'm seconding the motion. To see about starting a pilot project for, yes.
Once you start the pilot, the plane's gotta land.
Yes, but we haven't, I don't think we
haven't got the price yet. It may
well,
still.
not just the price, we don't know the formula in terms of, like you said, he said he's gonna start at Jack's Lake, but we haven't decided that, you know, in terms of how it's gonna roll out and whatnot. So.
Okay, I understand.
I'm just, it's, to me, it's an interesting idea. This is where things are going. More communities are moving this way. But I also understand the pushback we're gonna get from certain residents and that this is my property and you know what I mean? So, but I think there's a balance hopefully there we can strike in terms of moving this forward. I'd just like to see more information on it. I'm not ready to say I'm ready to go ahead with this project yet, but I've seen it done in other municipalities and I've seen it done somewhat successfully in terms of what I've seen, so.
So on this thing, Travis, and like you say, it's happening in a lot of areas, but maybe kind of, you know, and I know there's a motion on the floor here, but I think it's probably been tweaked a little bit there. But anyways, we haven't got a seconder, but so to kind of go along with the deputy mayor's idea here, did you discuss up there, like say for the first phase to do a call in, like, you know, do the ones that want it done? You know what I mean? Like the people that call in and say, hey, I want on that list and I want the visual done. And I know the ones that are going to call it are ones that know they don't have a problem, but that would clean up like some septics, if they were done in the last 5 years. I don't know how the program works, but you know, they probably don't need them or they shouldn't need them. So.
So through you, our first phase up there was every property in the township. Regardless of the year. Yes, some like to Mr. Councillor Doherty's question, is it going to be everyone? Is it just going to be lakes? What's it going to be? So that's stuff we can hash out as we go forward. But if it's council's wish to move forward, and if somebody wanted to call in to have the one-offs, that wasn't anything we had up there, but it could be done.
So not to keep going back to North Kawartha, but so North Kawartha doesn't have sewage system, so was it just lakes that you did, or was it the village done too?
It was the entire township. We
Okay,
started with Shandos Lake, and Shandos Lake was big enough that we had to split it in half. We did half the first year, half the second year, and then moved on to the other lakes.
Okay.
And then caught the stuff off lakes later on at the end.
so a 5-year program for Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, is that realistic, or is that, like, I'm just looking at the geographics of the two townships. Is that realistic for us to be able to look at, like, we have 10 lakes, and plus the township, so,
Yeah,
septic.
I would think so, if we're gonna do all of the township, and the island ones take a lot of time. We have a boat that's chasing islands and.
So maybe, so to bring back the costing, because that's the next piece of it, like maybe it shouldn't be a pilot project, it should be what the cost would be for the first phase of a 5-year plan. Would that work, Art? Like that way everybody's engulfed in this thing and it would, we'd have an idea of what it's gonna look like, and whether we do it or not, today's not gonna be decided. It's because there is a cost to it, and we got a lot of pressures on this budget right now, but it's opening it up to at least get a cost and see if it's worthwhile to move forward.
Yeah, well, the reason I'm seconding Councilor Clement's motion is that, just as I said, I don't know if I'm 100% for this right now.
Yeah.
But I've heard from enough people that I think would like us to at least explore what, like I said, whether it's the cost or what it's gonna entail. Maybe we get the cost and everything and it's too onerous, right? There's too much. People feel as though they're infringed on too much in terms of what we're doing, right? And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to, I think it's been said.
Environment.
Exactly, protect the environment. We've got, the lakes is probably our biggest natural resource here in our community, right? In terms of what brings people here. So we don't want to ruin it. And moving ahead, as I said, I just like to make sure that we've dotted our i's and crossed all the t's in terms of this. And maybe we don't go that way, but at least then we can explain to people why we didn't go that way, right? But so I know it's gonna be more work for staff. I apologize, but I think if we get all these numbers and everything around it, we can make a better decision in terms of moving forward. So
what do you have for a motion there, Bob?
Right.
That's something.
Through you, Mayor Martin, the motion moved by Councillor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, is that staff is directed to get a costing for a sewage system maintenance program to be implemented commencing with Jack Lake and including the entire township.
yeah, just in terms of the wording, like I don't like the word implement. To me, it sounds like we're going ahead with this.
Okay.
Like an inquiry, just or something like that. Thank you, exploring, thank you very much. But yeah, I don't like the word implement because it makes it sound like this decision has been made. And I have not made a decision on this in terms of where I'm going, but as I said, there's interesting parts of this and I'd like to learn more.
Got that, Bob?
Yep.
All right, so moved and seconded. Any questions around that motion? All in favor of the motion? Thank you. Okay, Travis, so the next on here is the building department capital.
For you, Mr. Mayor, this is for the radios and proposed for the vehicle. And at the last meeting, we didn't know the cost per month or fees associated to maintain the radios themselves. So I was able to get the pricing. It's $15.50 per month for each radio. So with the 3, it would be $46.50 per month. Total of $558 per year. Plus $600 annual license fee, totaling $1,158 plus applicable HST. And that would be the yearly cost in addition to the $6,000 for the radios.
This is a safety thing.
Sorry?
It's more for safety, the radios, like you don't have them in there now, do you?
They're not in the vehicles now. They were recommended through the health and safety. Yes.
So, all right, so there would be a motion involved here with, to move ahead with that part of it, I think, so. Made by Deputy Mayor Webb.
There's an extra 1,000 on top of it. Roughly. 1,158 plus the funding, just move that.
Okay, so I have a,
Sorry, through you, Chair. Because it's an ongoing item, it might be better to add that to the operating budget. This on page 102 is the capital cost,
oh,
so
okay,
I'm just thinking if it, pleases council that the motion could be to add to the building's operating budget on page 29 under advertising and communication.
Yeah, I'll move that.
okay, so let's move by.
Or its own line, whatever line wants, but if he wants to make his own line, somewhere in operating.
So let's move that, we move that over to operating for the building department. And that's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Do you have a seconder for that? A second, Dr. Connor? Questions? Dr. Dorn?
Yeah, what's the life expectancy on those? Do you have any idea?
Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure, not sure if Peter spoke to that last
Yeah, I
time.
know.
He thought they'd last as long as the vehicle, or Peter or Josh might mention that.
Well, that would, I guess we'll use Josh's into 2004, so that makes the last 20 years then. Is that
It's still working.
right? Thanks.
Sorry, just for you, further to that, say we had an old, like we put it in the truck and we got rid of the truck, and they be moved from truck to truck? Okay, so once we buy it, they're good, so okay, good.
Okay, so moved and seconded, did I get that? All in favor? Okay,
Oh, sorry, better do that again. Do we get all in favor? Sorry.
all in favor of the motion, so
Okay.
that's carried.
There we go.
All right, so moving into bylaw. Travis, page 30.
I don't believe there was any, items or questions for the bylaw there.
Any questions around that?
No, I had a question. I
Yeah.
picked it up with Mike earlier. I noticed his supplies were down from last year, but I guess he addressed it. I guess there was something you guys did last year that drove it up to 4, and that's why he's back. I just want to make sure you had enough.
Well, that was
So,
the amp thing.
it's right, Mr. Mayor, we had a number of parking signs and stuff that were last, or no parking signs. Thank you.
All right, and the next item is planning department overview. Page 62.
Question around the special services and contracts, the consulting fees. Really, that's up a bit, real hopeful the official plan gets passed this year and we can get moving on our comprehensive zoning bylaw overhaul, which would include some fees for the planning consultants, and legal was bumped up a little bit. Other than that, I don't think there was any other questions on planning.
No, and so once the official plan part of it gets through, we talked briefly, but around the zoning, if we had to set up a committee or anything like that, what kind of cost would that be if we want to go through our zoning? Update. If we have it, do we have money probably someone we could access to, if we did end up setting up some sort of a committee to update the zoning?
Yeah, so 3, Mr. Mayor, that's the money that I have in there for professional services and contracts. That'll cover the consulting for FOTEN, and hopefully we can get a committee together. It sounds like Samantha's been at the TAC meetings. Hopefully it's going to get passed. The official plan is going to get passed this fall. So we can get moving forward on a committee, hopefully in the second. Or get the committee together and get moving on this review of the zoning bylaw.
All right, thank you. So any questions?
Is that our official plan?
Well, yeah, with the county, like, yeah, your official plan for the joint one.
Is it going to go through you then? No, that's what we've heard the last.
Okay,
couple
no,
of
that's
days.
not-
It sounded more hopeful.
Thank you. That's more optimistic than what I've heard, so that's just it. Thank you.
Thanks. Jerry, go ahead.
It says transferred from reserves.
You share, we actually have an amount coming in from reserve because this has been in prior years' budgets. So this is an acknowledgement that the money had gone into a reserve in the prior year because it didn't happen. So now we're pulling it out of the reserve, so it doesn't affect the tax rate in 2 successive years. So we have, I believe, 60,000 coming out of the reserve to offset the increase to the budget of, I think, roughly the same amount as a result of the official plan changing.
Follow up you. So that means if it doesn't get done in 25, it goes back into reserves then and back up. Save the paper entry.
Okay, any other questions around the planning? Hearing none, I'm gonna suggest we take a break here. Sorry, go ahead.
Future, just for council's edification, so up to this point, $137,654 has been reduced from the operating budget. And that has resulted in the proposed tax rate increase reducing to 4.2% up till this point.
Okay, Sherry, you have.
Mayor Martin, forgive me, earlier I forgot to bring this one item up. It relates to consulting, specifically both the community improvement plan. We'd asked Mike Keene Bowden to quote what it would cost to bring our CIP up to date, given that the LP wouldn't be available to us. And I understand that next meeting, there will be a report from Sam, discuss where the provincial planning statement is and the likelihood of us having flexible language within the new OP, allowing for a simple amendment to the plan as opposed to an OP amendment. So they've quoted $6,600 if we were to proceed with the CIP changes before the official plan is amended. I just want to make sure that you were aware of that. That came after the budgeting exercise under consulting.
Okay. So that's not in our numbers for today.
It is not.
Okay, so we can have that brought forward at the next meeting. Let's see if
That's something that
highlights that.
That's something that should be in build or planning or in
Yeah, like it sounds like ACDEV for CIP,
Yes.
but it's kind of a combination.
Yeah.
I don't know.
This is where we work together because it's covered, the CIP is covered under the Planning Act. So
You're okay with that, Travis?
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, okay.
just to make sure it was on your radar.
Make it know that you. It's pay him back.
All right, so I'm gonna look for a motion that we take to a recess till 11 o'clock. So moved by Deputy Webb, second by Councillor Doherty, all in favor, and that's carried. So all right, so it's 11 o'clock, and I'll look for a motion that we resume the meeting. Moved by Councillor Clement, second by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor. That's carried. Okay, we're moving into the Parks and Recreation area. Welcome, Josh. We're going to start off with the facility administration overview on page 38. So, did you have any questions? Like, did anybody ask any questions around that, or was there anything? Okay, questions. All right. So, well, yeah, it's page 138. And, or page 38. That's thank you. Sorry. I'm looking at the numbers and so yeah, so it looks like it's come down a little bit on one. So, all right, Beth, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, on the facilities administration on page 38. The growth capital budget is 137,600, and the previous year was 61,000. Can you explain that increase? I guess transfers to reserves is what you're transferring. Last year you only did 61,000 and this year you've done 137.
That's right. So through you, Mayor Martin, I do believe that our portion for the sports field would have brought that up a significant amount. Through Chair, I think what we're looking at there is the capital budget portion.
Yeah.
So this year, under facilities, there's a certain amount of projects, and just flipping down.
Page 104.
Yeah, that will kind of give you what is being done this year.
And 105 on the back too. Capital, we don't. Yeah, but that's what she asked a question about the capital, I thought. Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, it's on that thing. So
And then, sorry, to you, Chair, and then last year, there was only $61,000 in the capital budget for facilities.
It's gonna say just quickly, it looks like we got the water softener. And then window replacement. Yeah, there's two that's around 100,000 there, so we didn't count.
So yeah, on the facility administration overview, so it's just given the facility, like on page 38, I know we're looking into the capital side, but not a lot of change on the operating part there, right?
With operating, what page is operating?
40,
So yeah, I was on 38, but yeah.
38 is the recap. 39 is facilities administration. 39 is facilities operation. Revenue.
Any questions around that? 40, like 38 is the overview, like Gary said, but on 40 it has a summary of where those numbers come from, but. No questions around that. Yeah, facilities operation, well, that's page 40, so if you want to move into the capital on 104, like I don't know if there's. We're kind of taking 38, 39, and 40 here has been looked at, and I'm not hearing any questions. So the capital side of things, you fit on page 104. It starts on page 104. That's where the water softener and things like that, was in there. Replacement. Go ahead.
The one question, it's not really about facilities per se, it's about all the departments, and I think I might have brought up hopefully at the last meeting, but there are transfers to reserves for a lot of these departments. And thank you to staff. I noticed we're consistent with last year or close to last year. I'm wondering if, as we do with the pay and whatnot, if we should be figuring in a cost, like the cost of living or some kind of inflation increase into these transfer to reserves. So, you know, say that 40,000 maybe goes to 4150 or 40, whatever, but just the 2 to 3% to keep up with what we're going to need moving forward, right?
Through you, Chair, I could bring something to the next meeting with an assumed sort of escalator, if you will, of a few percent if council.
I'm just putting it out there because I'm just assuming it'll help us not chase money going forward, right? Because we're going to need more and more every year here. Everything else is going up 2 to 3% per year. So I think our contributions to these reserves should be the same. As long as it doesn't hurt too much, like
I'll have to wait till Ryan does the
Yeah,
calculations,
like,
but
so it's just him to bring something forward to see
Exactly.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
We're not committing.
no,
But,
no.
that might be a good practice of, to look at. Counselor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, wouldn't we be getting a slight return if this is going into reserves when we do our investment?
Future, that is absolutely correct. The interest earned does go into these reserves, absolutely.
Sorry, follow up with me. To each individual reserve, like proportionately?
Yep, through you, Chair, that is correct.
Okay, good, thank you, no. But it's still, sorry, it may not be enough, so procurement.
No, that's what I'm getting exactly.
Yeah, so it looks good here on, I'm glad to see that we're keeping up, like even the stone wall there, like with the work happening there. It's one of those things that we flipped in the past years, kind of, the town hall is the one that I keep looking at. And I don't see any money in there for the town hall. And if we're really serious about preserving it, it worries me when I don't see anything there, like even some seed money for net. I know we can find it somewhere if we need to, but to be prepared for that sort of stuff, in the future, it would be nice to see something in there for. I don't see the town hall. That's the only one that I noticed. It's there's going to be a huge cost coming forward there, and it would be nice to start preparing. So it's something that we haven't done in the past, and we should have.
So maybe, since we've already cut a substantial amount here, so maybe moving forward at some point, we can address that when we get into maybe capital projects or whatnot. There might be, to your point, some money left over that we could put in the town hall fund or something.
Yeah. Okay. Counselor Doherty, go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, are we serious about $15,000 for a new clock?
You Mayor Martin, that was the cost of implementation years.
Yeah, no, whatever. So we seem to last year, we spent for drawings on a new municipal building. We're going to spend 15,000 on a clock. Is it going to be movable?
I think it'll stay with this building. It's something, it's amazing how many people are watching that clock and wanting to know why we're not fixing it. As much as I hear you. But it is something, like, you can pull it if you want, but it's just, yeah, it's there, and yeah, I hear you. Right.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So I just want to verify, Josh, because I had one of the first complaints about the clock. When you get that fixed, it also fixes the inside and the inside one too, right? Out and in? Like there's two parts to that clock or something, isn't there?
Yes, so through you, Mayor Martin, it would all be completely redone.
And it'll look the same, classic or whatever.
It would just have a white badge with the black numbers.
Any chance it'd be a little lower than that?
Like, is this just a number to, like, you've already got it, you put the costing out there? Because I know the last time we fixed it, we couldn't find anyone, first of all, and then Larry Dunford came in and obviously he got us through to whatever broke again. And he said it was near the end of its life, but it's amazing how many people are looking at that clock. So
Do you remember, Martin, I can bring in the quotation I received. I do believe it was around the 14.5, 14.6 neighborhood.
and I think that's because there's a lot to it. Like, it is like, it's connected inside, outside. Is it in the basement, the works for it?
There's a control panel in the basement also.
Okay, that makes sense.
Crazy. But it's in there right now, so.
Well, yeah, so we're just getting a new clock, right? Because this sounds pretty detailed in terms of if we're gonna fix it, I would probably rather just take that old stuff, but that we can't get people to fix, get it right out of there. So that's where we're bringing in a whole new unit that is new, and we're not gonna run into this if it breaks again, right?
Through you, Mayor Martin, that is correct.
Okay,
Right, and with a warranty.
yeah,
Thank you.
exactly.
Thanks.
You want to teach the kids how to read it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But everybody looks at it like a digital face counselor. Everybody looks at it on Highway 7, if you put up to an hour.
Digital numbers for it.
Yeah. Yeah, one age group will look at the sign on the one side of the road and the other ones will look at the clock on the other side.
That's after 50.
So,
Okay,
okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Is this replacing all of the windows at the stone hall, the door? And when doing that, what do we do? Is there a grant, number one? And number two, will it help us with our hydro and heating and so on in the building? Because I thought we talked at one time of maybe looking at where the well is and the septic of kind of moving the sixth line on a separate piece of land. But so we're going to put 50 grand into the stone house now. With windows, okay. So that means we're keeping it.
Oh, I don't think it's going anywhere.
Oh, I don't think the building's going anywhere.
No. So
Okay.
yeah, it's just to preserve the building. Yeah, there is other pieces to it that aren't in here, but the only time we would have to worry about that is if we ever sold the other half of the property, which right now it doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon. But yeah, that's there is another piece, like you say, the septic and the well they're all one piece of property right now. So.
To answer your question, Councillor Doherty, so through your Mayor Martin, yes, we would have a significant change in the cost of operating that building, heating and cooling. There's also a little bit left in there for exterior stonework that has to be completed. That's a complete job. That's the flashing, that's inside, that's the window, that's install.
Councillor Clement?
Through you, Mayor Martin, so front door also? Or you did fix the bottom of the front door.
Right, so through your Mayor Martin, we're not replacing the door itself, but we're doing the window above the door.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
And there's a 2x2 attic space window that's being replaced also.
Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Beth.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So Josh, there's more than just one window in the 50,000 figure?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I do believe we're at 7.
7 windows?
That's right.
Okay, thank you, Josh.
Any other questions around that? We'll move into Parks and Rec Department overview, page 55. One question I had around, and I don't know whether it's it's not on this page, it's on the next page, but it's in operation. The loop road there, the one-way or two-way, work to make it a two-way. I just wonder if this is the year to do that, or if there's a way. We made it through last year with it. Like it's been one way for a long time, and I just wonder if we could, even if there was a minimal amount in there to upgrade it, like, 10 grand or something, just to make sure it's safe and signage, but leaving it as it is and pull that 200 out of there. I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's may do this long, and page 57, 56, 57, like the operating part of the parks and Rec.
The road wouldn't be operating, would it?
Well, it's in there, that's the.
I don't think it's in the numbers.
Yeah, it's in the, on page 58 on the top there.
Oh, another, okay, I got you.
These first pages just have a high level summary of the operating and capital budget. The road is in the Parks and Recreation capital budget on page 115.
Oh, okay. I'm just taking the 304 off of the 2025. Okay. Well, let's do 55 first. Yeah, go there.
Okay.
All right,
Page 55.
And
So page 55, $7,000 change there. Anything there that you want to speak to? Okay. 56. Through to 58. Has anybody came and seen you about anything then, Josh? Or is there any questions around that or?
To you, Mayor Martin, there's been no questions as you.
Okay. Right, if there's. No questions around that? Go ahead, Jerry.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I know it's on them all, but it says, this would be page 56. 2024 projected actuals. Okay. So that indicates to me when I see actual that that's the cost. Not a projection, is that right? What page? 56 already, yeah.
Through you, Chair, that would have been the projected actual from the managers based on where they were at when the budget books were finalized. So as it would be their best projection based on about 3/4 of the year that we would have had all the invoices for and revenue in for.
And the expense side, we would, if we know that we're doing something, we're going to get billed in 24, would it be in there?
Through you, Chair, if the work was to be done in 2024, the projected actual would include that. Yeah.
Because you look at the actual versus the budget and the actuals are 39,000 less. Right? And then, but we base our increase on last year's budget, right?
Through you, Chair, that would be something that each individual manager would do based on what we talk about is not necessarily basing your budget on what was approved, but what do you feel you need for the upcoming year? I don't want to speak for Josh or Peter or anybody else, but the idea is certainly not that just add 1 or 2% blindly. It should be just what do we need to have in 2025 to provide the services that we have to.
Thanks.
What page is the road on?
Well, that's what we move to the next.
Oh, we're talking about the,
So we're just finishing up on the Parks and Rec, our overview on 56 and 58. The next item is the capital overview on page 115. That's where I was talking about the road widening.
Yeah.
And whether it's a priority, like there's needs and wants, and I just wonder if that's just if it's a need right now, it's something that we've made do, and I think it's something that we can work with what's there.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor. I really haven't got any comments about it the way it is to me. Making it a two, I understand the roadway would be better, but a lot of the concerns we have are around traffic with kids and stuff walking there. And to me, for us to add another lane and pave it, you're just going to be dealing with more traffic and more cars. Exactly, that kids up there are going to have to be aware of. So if we get to your point, if we could fix it up with some gravel or whatever, and I think it serves its purpose. Just a couple things, a couple notes I made last time. Like if we do take that 200,000, Josh made us aware that there's possible or at some point in the future here, we're going to need replacement of the lights at the ball field, which is approximately 82,000, I think you said, Josh.
That's right.
And then also, I believe you have a truck coming up next year.
Remember, Martin, it would be brought back again to 26.
Yeah, but he'll have a truck on his truck schedule for a replacement next year. So I mean, between the lights is 82 and a new truck is somewhere around 85, I believe you quoted me, Josh. Yeah, leave that money, whether it's in his reserve or put some of that aside for those projects. Because I said, there's gonna be things coming up here.
So that's,
Never mind the big
Yeah.
capital projects, there's other things in that department that he's gonna need come next year, right? So
I think that's OMPF money, so if it's gonna be there, and like you say, there's lots of places to use it. Josh, you did get a costing of approximate savings for if we went to LED lights from the lights that are existing.
That's right, Mayor Martin. It's an estimated 70% savings. So they're going from $8,172.36 to $2,413.15 annually. The savings of $5,759.21.
And I think there's a possibility, like I said to you when we were talking, I think there's a possibility of looking even further into, and whether it's this budget or there would be money there, I think that outdoor, like turning all them lights on, I don't care if they're LED or those lights, looking around at other outdoor rinks. Maybe there's a way of, it's gonna continue to be there, of coming up with the 4 posts on each corner, like a post on each corner of that outdoor rink with just LED lights specifically for that, not lighting up the whole park. I was looking at Hastings, last winter, and it's a simple process, and maybe we're a bit difficult turning on all them ball lights and wearing them out prematurely. So there is ways of working around, making things a little more efficient. But for now, yeah, I think there's an opportunity there to use it somewhere else. One of the things that came up at the school meeting was even sidewalks. There's a sidewalk that goes into the school on the other side, off Matheson. And there's a gap between the sidewalk, so the kids actually walk on the road. There's no sidewalk there, so that's something that maybe when you do your roads needs study or an update in the future, that's probably more important than what's on the other side of the.
well, further to that, I thought when you were your last tip, Josh, did you not say we were gonna have somebody come in but I was an insurance person?
So through you, Mayor Martin, the first stage would be having an insurance rep come and examine the property and see what has to be happen to be done. That's right.
Because to your point, Mr. Mayor, I would, instead of that roadway going through there, I would, rather see whether it be, whatever the insurance people say, but some kind of sidewalk there that would separate the kids or younger ones that are walking along there for school in the morning.
Yeah.
Away from the roadway, or keep them off the roadway, right? That would, to me, that would be a better investment of our money, but.
Yeah.
It's just.
So for today, I was wondering if, is there a motion there? Is everybody comfortable with removing the dual lane for today and move that out? Moved by Councillor Flagler, second by Councillor Doherty. With a comment, did you have a comment?
No.
No? Okay, all in favor? And that's carried.
Now I have a comment, $200,000 as Deputy Mayor Webb said, not maybe 80,000 for the lights for next year, for getting done this year. And then the vehicle, if we're going to set the money aside, we might as well buy the vehicle this year. Otherwise, just put half aside and do half the next year.
I'm okay with
Yeah,
the
whatever.
this year.
Somebody wants to go ahead and move a motion, go right ahead. Sounds good to me.
Where
So,
are we
yeah.
moving?
About the moving the lights up. That's 2 separate things, I think. One is the lights to get them done this year.
Go half and half. Or full and half. I'm just wondering, because I know we're gonna try and get money here for other capital projects. So I'm wondering how much we should trim off here. So do you want to do half of each? Or the full lights and half of the truck?
For today's meeting, if you were to do half and half, like I know we're going to Roma, and if you're talking with Hydro, there might be some grants out there if we were to switch that over. So at least if we put half in, if you put the whole thing in, they won't give you money for a grant. So at least if we have half for seed money,
And Councillor.
and we got another meeting coming. So are you okay with that?
I didn't understand the hydro part that Roma, but that's the way it.
Well, when you're speaking to them, we always go and ask for the grants and stuff like that, and that's where you find the information.
Okay, no, I'd be prepared to make a motion that we put aside half of the approximate lighting cost We can even reduce it to 40 so that the bigger half will go on the grant if it comes. And then round the vehicle off at 80 and do 40 on it too. So that, I guess that would be a total of 80, so 120 goes back in,
Okay, so you're moving that?
which is, OMPF is just non-money, it's just like, no, it's tooth fairy stuff, eh?
I'll move by Councillor Doherty, second by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor? So page 115 on the, we're still on the capital overview for Parks and Rec. And it's a list there. Any question? 115. Oh,
We know when the generator, getting the generator.
Through you, Mayor Martin, if we are successful with this 65, if we can start the tendering process as soon as possible.
I think we kind of committed to that last year, didn't we? And
That's right.
really, you know, so.
Hello, through you, Mayor Martin. Just a question about the steel planters. Is that replacing planters we already have, or I'm just not sure where that's.
Through you, Mayor Martin, we had put 2 steel planters at the cenotaph the year before. Last year, we removed them because of the construction. Put them up at our welcome sign. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from that move. So this 3,000 would be replacing the ones for the cenotaph.
All right, thank you, Josh.
all right, any other questions around that? All right, very good, Josh. Good, I think that's, if there's no other questions, we can move on. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Well, another meeting to come, so don't spend the money yet. Okay. So next on the list here, Ray, you're in the hot seat.
Always am.
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended, eh?
Page 49 is raised for as regards to fire service overview. Josh.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. So through you, Mayor Martin, page 49 is the operating. It's there in front of you. Any questions?
Right? There was nothing from the last meeting that came. So. Yeah. So. Any questions for Ray on page 49?
Yeah, no, I bring it up again, but and this is, I think, where I was most concerned about it was in the transfer to reserves for Ray.
Yeah.
Because I got a sheet here you gave us last time for the 2 million that is we're gonna need by 2030. So I think at least, I don't know if we do it this year, but we should at least have it on our radar that we need to, I think, increase that transfer to reserves to help him out moving forward here. So whether we do that today, I don't know.
So Lionel,
Last meeting, we agreed to take it out.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I was saying like, I'm saying 2 to 3, like, you know what I mean? Like an extra 50 or 100,000.
so Lionel, when you do like an overview of our reserves, like, so I've seen it before when we, it's sometimes the time when you look at it, we just finished buying, say, 2 trucks or something like that, and it looked really bad, but with the transfer to reserves, it'll come back in time for the next vehicle. But that being said, there has been an increase in the cost of these vehicles, so.
Through you, Chair. So yeah, I have done that for the fire reserve, and over the next 10 years, including what we have in the reserve right now, there'd be about $3 million available. If we keep the contribution of the reserve each year constant. So with, I believe, less than $2 million in vehicles that I'm aware of, we should be fine.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
The other, the sheet you gave us last time, Ray, sorry, I still got it here. This SCBA, what was that? There's a good question marks.
That's through you, Mayor Martin. That there is, if the compressor gets
Oh, okay.
changed out this year, then it changes all of the SCBA's because we have to do the compressor before we get new SCBA's. And then there's a possibility of refurbishing
Okay.
what we have. So I'm just weighing out all the options.
So that's why the range is $200 to
Yes.
300,000?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not 200,000 to 300,000.
Oh, okay, so.
Yeah, I just
Yeah,
did all the zeros.
Okay, no, thank you, thank you. And then one other question. I see like T1, T2, that's those just the small trucks or?
No, that's tankers, tank
Big
one,
one,
tank
and what's
two,
P1?
pump one.
Okay, 28, 29, 30. How often do we purchase those? Like is it every 10 years, every 20, 20? Is there a way, well, I guess moving forward, I guess it's not gonna matter, but I'll be long gone from here.
You know, you booked a trip.
Skid marks. I'm just saying, we moving forwards, I guess for the next people that are gonna be purchasing this, is there a way that we could spread that out? Like what I was thinking, it'd be nice if those trucks came every 4 or 5 years, right? Because to me, the easiest way to do it is if we have it every 4 or 5 years, you could just kind of know that 1 year you're gonna have to use half for a lot of your OMPF or it's grant money and plan on it that way. But when you get them 3 in a row, if you got other projects, it's really gonna hamper what you're gonna do for those 2 or 3 years, right? So not for this, but I'm saying after that, is there a way we can maybe coordinate that? So.
I am working with some companies right now on how I can do something even possibly when that first one comes up, like in 2028.
Okay.
I'm working to try and figure out how we can just spread them out even another year or two apart.
Thank you very much, Ray.
Yeah, like so when these formulas were made up in the 20 years, so I keep looking at all our calls for service and there used to be lots of fires. So when it gets to a pumper truck, you know, maybe 20 years ago, it seemed like, you know, they were used every week, where now I don't hear of a lot of fires. I hear lots of medical calls. So those trucks seem to wear out really quick. So is that what you mean about stretching out the life of maybe a pumper truck to
Yes.
refurbish the pump and?
What is going through my mind is maybe replacing the pumper truck a little earlier and keeping a couple of the tankers or at least one tanker for a little bit longer.
Okay,
That's where I'm working with.
at least you're working on it.
Yeah. Trying to figure something out.
Yeah.
Just so I understand, like, so when you said 20 years, is it like once a truck hits 20 years, it's gone by, you know what I mean? Like, or is that up to you or is?
No, that's the provincial standard is 20 years. It is a long time because all the new trucks now are electronic. So it's like your computers, right? Your computers are good for what? 3 years, 2 years?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So it's not just as simple as taking the back off and putting it on new.
Exactly.
Unplug it and replug it in.
Yeah, reboot that.
Reboot.
So, okay. Go ahead.
Ray explained to me when you had the boards night for your new staff members that passed, that the bunker gear has time elements on it.
Yes.
And go back to the mayor's point, we do very few fires now in comparison. So we would have some equipment that maybe has never seen a fire, or only seen one during, or not as many during the course of their
Possibly.
life expectancy, but we still have to replace them.
Yes.
Wonderful. And is this all of our gear that's coming up? Like what I guess I'm trying to get at, it's at 75,000, and should we have a reserve for gear purchases when our thing and do, if it's 10 years, let's get 10, or we spread them out so we can do it, or how are you already doing that?
It is already in the reserve, like in the truck
Okay,
replacement, equipment replacement, I should say.
okay.
It's already in all that.
And has anybody approached whoever looks after the fire, and I guess it would be provincially is to, like, this is kind of ridiculous why you would replace equipment that hardly gets used. I can see Toronto or maybe Peterborough where there's more fire, and we're not looking for more fires. We're not shopping to improve our business, but it just doesn't seem practical, but it is the government, I guess.
Health and safety.
Health and safety, yeah. And I don't want them, I want them to have good equipment, but
In your experience, when you see the stuff, do you ever scratch your head and say, I don't know why we're throwing it, or do you see cracks in the stuff? Like I know my work boots, I see cracks in them after, even though I don't work very hard, but they get cracks in them. So,
The boots are just, they're in the operating, they get replaced all the time.
okay.
But the gear, yeah, we'll go to an accident. And steel will cut the sleeves and then they get sent out and there is a thermal protection liner in them and that's what goes in them.
And that was my first experience with gov deals. I was so surprised that a lot of tow truck companies buy that stuff. Like we did pretty good on some of that stuff on gov deals when we sold it one time, and it was like tow truck drivers buy it to use it for their stuff. So hopefully we can get some recoup there, but okay.
Can we use the old fire helmets as helmets for skating at the rink? So we don't have to buy helmets for the rink for Josh?
Heavy, but
Possible.
Yeah, the Zamboni guys.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right. If there's no other questions on that page, we'll move over to page 112. The capital fire. We have to kind of touch on a bit of that. Touch on all of it. The rescue UTV was discussed last.
yeah. So through you, Mayor Martin, that was, and I believe Lionel said like this was the top up from that 20,000. So I believe what Lionel said that the whole amount should be put into that was the 35. So that should be really the only change there. And I did sort of look around at side by sides and stuff like that. You're running around for what we would need, around 21 grand. Like I got some print offs here. I found a local one up in Bancroft. They're only asking 17 for it. It's a 24.
So are these side by sides or utility vehicles? Like
Side by sides, UTVs. That's what the UTV is, a side by side, a Kubota.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
And then there's different styles of slide in for grass fires, little bush fires and stuff like that, that will also take the baskets that we have, excuse me. So there's different ones there, but they range anywhere from like 2,500 to $6,000 for those.
I don't see a trailer for it.
Trailers, they're like, what, $2,000? Because two to $5,000 for a trailer, because what I'm looking at for a trailer is a trailer that will just fit the side by side and the side by side only. So then you can use the trailer behind the side by side when you go into the bush.
Yeah, perfect. I'm $1,500 at yours.
1,500.
Yeah.
so
So the trailer, the trailer I was just kind of leaving and yeah.
It's just, it would be nice to have everything in there, just so we know, like it should maybe be UTV and trailer, so we see the cost of the, like Jerry says, it might maybe $2,000, maybe $4,000, depending on what you're getting. But
Yeah.
we should just see the whole price, I think, like rather than just leave it blank. But
through you, Mr. Then the slide in for the fires, that's really what this, that's what we need. That's what we'll need.
Yeah. That's included in that 35.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
but okay, so the 20, I haven't seen the 35, but anyway.
The 35 should cover everything, right?
Yeah.
With the trailer.
That's what I just talked to Lionel about, because we put the 15 in as a top up with the 20 that was already there. But Lionel said that we should put the full amount of 35 in there. So that should be changed to 35.
So for the next meeting, if you could give us that updated.
Yeah. Well, I think we need the slide in, we need the trailer. And unless you're gonna tow the boat behind it, we're gonna need a trailer for it too.
And
and not to get into bit to your point, so the 24, that's obviously used, right?
No.
New, just brand new? Do we ever look at purchasing for stuff like this, like used stuff? I know you don't, it's not great to purchase used, but I mean. Also know what it's like to buy new, and within a year, half the value of whatever you bought is gone, so maybe buying it a year too old for something like that, I don't know.
There's lots of possibilities.
Maybe probably.
A demo.
Wouldn't get the warranty.
No, you can buy it like a demo.
Yeah.
That might have 50, 100K on it, but you can still get the full warranty, but it was just a demo.
Yeah, it's just a thought, I don't.
Okay, so yeah, so I think for the next meeting, we'll need to just see that whole number there. In the list, that way we know what we're voting on, so.
We don't need it, or is that to jack over, blow up or something? Okay, thanks.
Okay, anything else in there? All right, Ray, you didn't even get your pager going off, so.
No. No, it was set for another 15 minutes to go.
Yeah, you're slipping. So, all right, you're just wanting to see Peter get up here in the hot seat and sweat.
So we approved the $90,000 compressor, is that?
I didn't hear anything on that yet, so it's still in the. It's not like, the next meeting if there's a thought there, but it sounds like it's something that needs done, so. Fill the bottles. The breathing apparatus thing.
Well, I have a question on it, if we need it, we need it, but does every fire hall have one?
No, some northern fire halls do not. But all the southern ones down here do, because if we do go to change our SCBA's, we would have to run to Peterborough to get them filled.
How many times are you doing that? Running to Peterborough and getting them filled?
We're filling our own right now.
Oh, they're filling wrong. So we have a compressor already. It just needs to be replaced. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
So we'll be selling the other one?
We will try.
Yeah, so it's a go thing or whatever you do want. So is this the net then or the gross or?
That's the gross, that's everything right there.
All right then. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you.
Peter. Like coming back from a vacation.
Yeah.
So the first item on Peter is Public Works Administration overview, page 68. Okay. So. Change 20,000.
Well, it needs to be.
Which I suspect is cost of living is, or is $20,000 difference from 24. Yeah, page 68, 69. I'm just doing the overview one, but yeah. So, is
It's insurance.
that what it was?
So 16 of it.
Yeah.
I just had I don't know if I asked, because your number is lower on the 25 budget than your actual from 24. Take it that I'm missing something and you're okay with that.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I may ask Lionel if he could assist me on that question.
Which line are you talking here? Well, that one we looked at.
Yeah, see.
Future, I'm not really sure what I have to add for personnel. It looks like in 24, Peter had maybe under budgeted a little bit. And for 25, that number in the 25 budget is simply his staff. The exact amount we budget based on their rates of pay and the benefits, the exact cost of the benefits, so. I don't know if I have anything to add for the actual.
Okay, thank you. And we won't get into this now. I know that I've kind of talked about it and think, through Mr. Mayor, we dealt with this at the county the same way. Moving forward, I think I addressed this with you, Lionel. I'm wondering if there's a way we can, like the personnel here, I'd represent some kind of, a number for the admin side of Arch, but it doesn't obviously encompass all our employees. That comes over here on the next page. I was wondering if there's a way we could have that kind of separated out.
The chair, I've provided Peter with some printouts.
Yeah.
For the personnel breakdown for each of those activities on page 71. That he's gonna hand out, I guess, or.
Oh,
make
okay. Oh,
available.
sorry, thank you. Okay, there it is. Great. Well, then, thank you very much. Oh, but it just makes it easier to track, right? Because when I look at the first number, to me, that's like we're really low. But then I've got another million on the other page that kind of makes up for it. So that's so low.
Oh, yeah.
Here. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on that?
Well.
Yeah.
Not to be, whatever. But when I get back to, so when I get over to, sorry, I guess it's page 71, yeah. At the top, the wages. I know we might begin to kind of projected actuals here, but last year we budgeted 297, 239. This year we're at 302. Are we missing something from that 239? Like, is there just something that hasn't been recorded, or I'm just wondering why we're.
Through you, Mayor Martin, that might be on me, as a projected actual when we submitted this, so I think that would be myself that just missed, having the actual projected annual for the end of the year when we submitted.
So you're telling me that 239 is a lot closer to the 297, like it should be higher?
Yeah, so I think the 2024 budget, was very accurate.
Okay, maybe 239 should be, okay, no,
Yeah, you know what the projected 2025 is the 302.
okay, yeah, no, that's a fair increase, so thank you. Material, sorry. The materials and supplies just below it, same.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else with the operations overview? I'm mostly in capital, but there's nothing else. Any other questions for Peter on that? Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to page 122 with regards to the capital side of public works. Um, The 122. Oh, yeah. Okay, any questions? The one question I had there I think it's in this area, is the connecting link, battery backup. I just wonder if that's accessible somewhere without showing it. I think it should be part of our connecting link, grant that we put in for, and I'm always leery on showing money for something. If you're gonna apply for a grant, it'd be better to. I'm sure we can get it somewhere, Lionel, but rather than show it in here, I think it should be part of the application for connecting link rather than coming from taxpayers, but I know it comes from the taxpayer eventually, but it is connecting link.
Through you, Mayor Martin, that is on page 132.
Okay, farther than that.
The Form 1, it's on page 132, and definitely we can apply for the grant. We have been successful in the past with the Connecting Link grant, so we can definitely apply for it this year.
To me, if that's really in, but
Every time that comes up.
yeah. The other one was the gravel haul, like in the years past, we used to be 50,000 a year, and then we had other grants for like sidewalks and whatever. We upped it to $100,000. I'm just wondering, and it's just a question, like if with the pressures that we got everywhere else, I wonder if that was reduced to 50,000 for this year. Does it cause a problem, or you want to keep on the new program? Because for the past 5 or so years, I know you don't have any trouble spending 100,000 on gravel. So whether we nickel and dime this year or just leave it as it is, it's just a question.
Yeah, I was thinking about moving up to 150, which the road needs study suggests.
Well, that's another option too.
I don't think our gravel roads are becoming less. And the less we put on them, the more it's going to affect us in the future. So my dime is we just either leave it the same, increase it, but that's just my dime.
No, that's good. All right. Any other questions? Go ahead, Peter.
Just through you, Mayor Martin, just one thing to point out, it was probably just a typo there on Van Sickle Road on page 123. It's not 0.7, it's 7.0. Just if anyone's reading the fine print there, it's a lot of money for 0.7 kilometers. Yeah, it's actually 7 kilometers.
But Van Sickle Road, we got, definitely they aren't proceeding this year, and this is just to do some ditch work. Peter,
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So last year, Councillor Doherty, we put aside 100,000. So it's a little bit of a reserve for us to go ahead and start with some ditching and some culvert, exchanges, replacements, and that kind of thing. And we're in communication with Marmor Lake, because on a capital project like that, it's a 50-50 cost share. So we're planning on doing a lot of the work with our own equipment and staff between the two townships.
oh, if I mean, and our portion of this is 750. If that was the original price,
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, I believe that I can find it here, but I believe that is correct. Yes.
and we've got 100 reserved for it. And do we have enough money in reserve to come up with the other 650?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. So the estimated cost is 1.5. $718,000. So yeah, so our share is 785,000. It's split in half. So we have 100 from last year put away for a reserve, and then proposing for another 100 this year. So we can, if Marmor Lake does the same and their budget gets approved, then we can start some preliminary work on it.
At additional 600,000 we need. I just want to make sure my numbers are.
Yes.
Pretty sure. I think Councillor Doherty had asked about whether the money is in our reserves. And I would definitely say no. Our roads reserve, if the budget was passed as is, would have a balance of about $750,000 at the end of 2025. And over the next 10 years, our asset management plan was saying that we have $29 million of road work that has to be done. So we have $100,000 that was approved in last year's budget. It's not in a reserve per se, but it was approved last year. So to pay for that, you know, we could find that money in the roads reserve. That would probably mean something else wasn't going to go forward. So it's just another example of how, like, you know, we may be healthy in terms of reserves, but we're certainly not wealthy. There's far more needs than, you know, what we have put aside. So, or good bad news.
Kathy?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I just want to get clarification. Do we need 50% of 785 or do we need 50% of 1.2 million? We need 785,000. Just want to clarify that.
That's why Lionel sang he had to be good at shell games. That was part of his prerequisite.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
$29 million shortfall. Okay. Any other questions around that? Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Peter, Van Uniman Road, total budgeted cost 1.4 million. Can you explain that?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so Uniman Road is you're on the bus there, so everybody's aware of where it is. So that was a budget number that I got from our consulting engineer. So that includes ditching, road base, that large 8-foot diameter culvert, flex beams. It includes everything right from the highway up, 2 lifts of asphalt, HL8, HL3. So it's a full, basically a non-restricted road for weight. So it's like a county road, I guess you could classify it as, like a class 3 or class 4 that wouldn't have a weight restriction on it.
Okay, sorry, I had another question, but it left me.
I have a question on Uniman Road. I quite frankly, I think we're a little premature in doing it. I think, obviously we think it needs to be done. We put 200,000 towards it and another $1.2 million this year. To me, maybe increase the reserve and try and build it and put it off. And hopefully Uniman comes up with some real cash that we can put towards it. When was the Uniman put on? It was last year, the first, or?
Yeah, yes, 3 Mayor Martin, yeah, last year, and it was a late addition to the.
So it was late last year.
Late addition, yeah, to the 2024 budget.
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Peter, is the Uniman Road in the roads need study test? The roads need study?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, it is in the roads needs study, and that's in here, and a new one is coming out. And speaking with that, I don't want to get off your question, Councillor Flagger, but I did receive some more information on the 10-year capital plan that was inquired about instead of the roads needs study. So the roads needs study can incorporate Uniman Road as well as all of our other roads in the township for a 10-year outlook and on just roads, not infrastructure or anything like that, but just basically it's taking a roads needs study from 5 years and going to 10 years. And it's an additional, approximately, the budget verbal number was an additional $5,000 to go 10 years instead of do 5, just for the extra admin. And the field work remains the same, but it's just the additional admin work to put it together.
Okay, and how bad is this Uniman Road? I mean, are trucks not able to get through there? I'm just not understanding what the issue is.
Through you, Mayor Martin, it's in pretty poor shape in my terms, but I mean, trucks are still traveling it, Councillor Flagger, but I mean, it is in pretty poor condition.
Okay, but business is still going on back there, no problem, correct?
Still, business is still going.
Right, so
There is
this
complaint.
could
there is complaints coming from back.
I get that there's complaints. I do get that, but we do have a lot going on our
Mhm.
plate, so.
So this one here, like the other side of it, like I was back there for a meeting a few months ago, and it's obvious you spent a lot of time back there doing cold patching and fixing. I don't know how much time was spent back there. Like it did help a lot. But that's the other side of this is how much time you're spending back there. It's not going to get any cheaper. So it's one of those things that if we could get this thing done and get it up to where it should be, those trucks are traveling on 46 and smashing themselves before they get to 46. It needs to be done. It's really bad shape. So we've seen it when we were on the bus trip, and it's a lot of money. But they pay taxes too back there. They're probably one of our biggest taxpayers. So
Biggest employer.
yeah, so it is narrowing down. And we are in, like we were here, $29 million shortfall. Like Van Sickle Road is another road that could almost be turned back to gravel. The complaints that I get for that road are unbelievable. And then it comes into safety. I don't know.
So going forward, Jim, is the repairs, how many, you did repairs this year back there, right? Are those repairs gonna be okay for another year, or are you gonna be back there again this year doing more repairs?
Through you, Mayor Martin, it's a constant repair. We're there throughout the months as like winter, spring, summer. Spring will be really bad with the freeze thaw coming out. I mean, we've taken the backhoe back with cold mix and tried to pack the cold mix in the patches that are broken up so big, like it's not. We're not speaking about a pothole. We're talking about like a huge. Yeah, we're talking about like a half ton pickup bag kind of that we're patching with the backhoe.
Right, and what was the cost on that patching that you did?
Through your memory, I don't have the total on what we spent off the top of my head. I can research that and bring it back to you if you like, but I don't have that with me today.
Okay, thank you.
So is it? When we're putting it back, we're putting it back to a surfaced road. Or just paved road. So to your point, why can we consider putting it to a gravel road? What's the problem with making it a gravel road?
For the mine, maybe doctor grading every week. Like, because it wouldn't hold, right? There's heavy traffic. Yeah, that's why it's the good paving. It's not just surface treatment. It's the things we used on the 6th line, I think. That like the south end of the 6th, well, not the south end, but the mid 6th.
It's better pavement than what is on the 6th line through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, it's like an actual county paved road, like an HL8 base and then an HL3 top coat. So
This is on the Uterman Road?
yeah, that's what.
Why is theirs so special?
So through you, Mayor Martin, so like County Road 46 going north from Havelock, it can't be a restricted weight road. So that it all revolved around the spring and the thaw of the freeze, the frost coming out in the spring, I guess. So that's when the roads break up the most. And that's with all the heavy trucks. So if you restricted the road they couldn't travel in and out of there for, a couple months a year, which is huge business for them, right? So.
It's kind of like that section on 44 between drains and 46 there. There's no weight restriction on there in the spring and fall.
No.
So it's still there.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we defer it and take 200,000 out of the plan money and put it into reserve to increase it to 400,000 in the reserve, and then still hope that Unum will come up with some money on it and give them an opportunity for another year. That's my feeling.
Okay. That's moved by Councillor Doherty that we put 200 in, second by Councillor Flagler. Any questions around that?
Yeah, I got a question. This is something I'm seriously considering. Where are we getting the money that to get off, but where are we getting money to do the ball field? Because I haven't heard any discussions about the ball field, and from where I sit, that's one of the major projects. To me, probably more important than fixing Unit Road. So unless somebody can show me where we're gonna have money to do at least phase one of this ball field with no grant money, which is probably around $1.5 million. I might have to say no to Unit Road because I would rather have a baseball field over there than.
Yeah.
I think that road, I don't know, I could be wrong. To me, that road can wait. We've had people wait on Fish Hatchery Road for almost 10 years. All right, so I understand it's bad, may not be the greatest, but.
Yeah.
To me, that's where I sit, so.
Well, I know for the reserve for the ball fields, because I'm with, like, I do want to see them things happen this year. Where are we at with that? Like the 200 that we pulled out of the Parks and Rec there for that road or whatever could possibly go towards that, but we still probably short, are we?
We spent 120 of that already.
Okay, the other 200 then from George Street or whatever.
Hey, Chair, sorry, just to clarify, are we talking about the project for the recreation park that we submitted the grant funding for? So 50% would be about $3.5 million. So I don't have a report with me, but there was a report that I believe Councillor Doherty had asked for about where to find our portion of that $7 million. I'm rounding up, I think it was 6.9 or something. And so there was, I think, 6 or 7 different reserves, and we were kind of going to come up with close to that, but we still weren't quite at what we needed. So there was an assumed amount coming from the 2025 budget. So really, we have very little approved for this park. If it goes ahead at 50%, if we were to be lucky and get that funding, it would be difficult to fund it based on what we looked at in that report. If we got approved for 70%, well, that's great. I mean, it becomes a bit more doable. We are going to be searching high and low for the 3.5.
Okay. And debenture is one option, like.
No, not for me.
No, but
Yeah, well, and obviously, if we get the grant, well, there's more work to do, but my biggest fear is we don't get the grant. And I thought there was discussion, maybe not, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought there was discussion that we would still be putting something over there, just in a limited fashion.
right.
So, and to me, that costing would be, as I said, I could be wrong, but somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million. So we're still gonna need pretty much the same chunk of money, whether we get the grant or not. It'll just be how extravagant everything over there will be. That's just my concern.
Yeah.
So nothing against Human Road. It's just, I'm trying to shift priorities here, and I think the community would respond more to, as I said, we've got user groups and stuff that are looking for ball fields. They've been looking for them for a couple of years now. If we can do both, great.
Yeah.
Great. But I'd like to make sure that both are squared away before I make a commitment to Human Road.
So we have a motion on the floor that we defer the Yeoman Road and put the 200,000 that is allotted for there into the reserve towards it for next, maybe whatever, or for future. So that's the motion, and that was seconded. So
Well, just a quick,
yeah,
I find it's hard for me to vote on the motion because I don't have the information. Because
okay,
as I said, if Lionel tells me that, oh, we can go ahead and do the one ball field with a parking lot or whatever, and strip down kind of over their version of what we want and do Uniman Road, then I'm all for it. But if there's not enough money, you gotta choose one or the other, I'm probably gonna go with the ball field before I go with Uniman Road. I'll put some money away for it this year, and we can deal with it next year.
so as it is right now, like if that motion was passed the way it is right now, there's still another meeting that once the numbers come back and you speak to Lionel, we can leave it till the next meeting if the mover and seconder are okay with it, but I think
No, I'd like
we
to
can just
vote on the
vote
motion. I mean,
next
to
meeting,
me,
there's still an opportunity to deal with it. Go ahead.
You share it. What I'll come back with at the next meeting is that we don't have the money as it sits right now.
Mhm.
So we would have to add several $100,000 to the 2025 budget if we got approved at 50% funding for the project. As far as this other scale, like hurrying it down,
that would involve, I think people, perhaps Unity could come in and say exactly what that looks like. I don't really know. So it would be difficult for me to say, yeah, we have the money to do that.
I thought when we had Unity here, though, they kind of gave. We asked that question in terms of if we don't get the grant, can we do a pared down in terms of a ball field? And I thought the number thrown out there was actually somewhere around 1,200,000 or something like that. But and it's not, we know that's not set in stone, but
That was just one diamond. And
yes, no, but that's
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but that's why we're putting that over there, is because we're receiving complaints from people that saying there's none, they're going to other communities to use ball
Yeah.
fields. I thought this is the problem we're trying to address here. So I'm just trying to address the
Yeah.
problem.
And that's the thing, there's a lot of things facing us this year, and even the number that Lionel threw out there earlier with the 4 point some%. If we want to do like we got a group sitting behind at the back here that's gonna be telling us some good news too, and there's money to be spent, and if you want to come in at an unrealistic 4%, we're gonna have to cut something.
No, but
Yeah.
to your point, Mr. Mayor, I understand that, and maybe that's, as I said, we're going forward, and maybe we're low. Maybe we can bump that back up and get some of that money
Yeah,
back in there, but I mean, as I said, I want to make sure that certain projects have been addressed here.
Yeah.
Right? So, and Indusman being one, because I realized, that's why I asked you that they came in late last year, because I want to know how long they've been waiting. So to me, really, yeah, they've been waiting about a year, right? So, well, I really want to do it to them. It's not like they've been waiting 4 or 5 years, like maybe people on this.
Maybe the sixth
line Fish Hatchery Road, we can go down the list of people who've been waiting for get the roads fixed in this community. So
the motion right now with, like, there's gonna be more information come at the next meeting, but I think it works. Basically, there's, to kind of put it off, but actually working towards a solution in the end. So go ahead, Kathy.
Through Mayor Martin, Peter, can you get back to us with what it cost you to patch Human Road last year?
Doesn't.
Yes.
In here?
Yeah, I don't have that number with me, but I can do my best to get the closest number possible. And the amount of patch and time and labor spent up there, yes, for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's a mover and a seconder for the motion on the floor. So I'm gonna call a question. All in favor of it? You want to read it again? You want to hear it?
Yes.
Can you read that for me?
The motion is moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Councillor Flagler. That the Union Road project be deferred and that 200,000 be placed in the reserve for this future project.
Let's see, no.
All right. Lionel?
Can I just for clarification, I'm assuming that by putting into reserve, it means that we'd be approving $200,000 in this budget to say come from the roads reserve, so there would be a total of $400,000 approved in capital budgets towards this project. Does that sound right?
That's correct.
that's great.
Okay. All right, so I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion?
Yeah.
Okay. That's carried. So. Is that it, Peter, or for that part of it? Any other questions for Peter on the public capital? Go ahead.
It's a last year's question, but it's this year's problem, I guess. We didn't get the 6th line north done before situations. I asked Peter if he could do car count on the 6th line, as well as Round Lake Road, because, and I understand, Peter, from your email that the car count is the same on both roads. So are we recommending, and what we're putting on the 6th line, the same as it's on Round Lake Road?
Mayor Martin, yeah, so those car counts came from the current road needs study from 2020. They are identical. When we reconstructed Round Lake Road, we upgraded to the ultra thin asphalt, the HL2. On the 6th line, it was recommended that it didn't need a full reconstruction as of yet. And we were going to get extended life out of the surface that's there by adding an additional surface treatment layer on the 6th line to extend the life of the existing road. So to your question, Councillor Doherty, it's not the same. It's surface treatment to ultra thin asphalt or an HL2. So, but we're doing that to extend the life of the existing surface treatment on the 6th line.
But when it comes to for full reconstruction, it would get the same treatment as Round Lake Road.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, that's correct. Yeah.
And how many years is that? Like recommended or to the church or?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I would say, budget wise, I guess is, but probably approximately 5 to 6 years is what we're going to extend the life to.
And if we went upgraded it to Round Lake Road, what's the life thing?
So 12 to 15 is the expected life expectancy of the new ultra thin asphalt.
One more. Is the cost twice as much?
Through you, Mayor Martin, I don't have the exact numbers in front of me. I can come back with those, but it's about a third more. At least it was the last time I priced it. So unless prices have increased dramatically this year, but it's about a third more on a full reconstruction. So that's the difference. Like right now, we're just putting one layer down, which is approximately, top of my head, $130,000 if I remember correctly, just for the single layer of surface treatment, and the full reconstruction with the ultra thin asphalt was
600.
yes, it was in the 500 range.
I mean, that's not that good, but that seemed like a
So-
more than a third. But
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, I guess we're dealing with two different scenarios. We're trying to extend the life that's there now with a single layer surface treatment. If we were gonna do a full, complete rebuild with surface treatment, the last price is approximately around $8 a square meter for surface treatment, double layer construction. If we went with the last price I had was approximately just under $12 a square meter on the ultra thin asphalt. So it is consistently more, but we're comparing two different apples and oranges here with just extending the life with the single layer. That helps clarify.
it's right. The reason I got the car count is it just doesn't make any particular sense to me, but however. My thoughts.
Okay. All right then, so we have sewer and.
Well, let's I got one more on,
Okay.
here's capital budget, the pass motor grader mounted packer. Is that okay? Was there? Because I think I asked at the last meeting about that and I thought, Peter, you're going to come back with some cost savings, or we can reduce the number of gradings we do per road if we get this machine.
So through you, Mayor Martin, yeah, so I do have some numbers that I can share. So it ranged from 25 to 40% of savings on cost, wages, maintenance on the grader, like it's cutting, saving time, fuel and repairs basically from 25 to 40%. And of course, that's going to depend on your road too that you're working with, gravel, but so what I did was just for a dollar amount to put in figures, I went with our operating budget of $56,000 for grading and scarifying and went 25%, and that worked out to $14,000.
Thanks, Peter.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Lyle.
Sure, I believe Peter had a change to the removal of the parking spot at Old Town Hall in page 124. I believe the actual budget needed was $10,000 as opposed to $6,000.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, if we need to have a resolution to make that change, not sure how that was confused, but yeah, the actual number, budgeted number I had was 9,944, not the 6,000. And at that time was discussed, we were going to make sure there was a handicap parking all accessible. Yeah.
It has to be done, so. Somebody want to move that we correct the numbers? Moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Clement, all in favor? That's carried. Any other questions with regards to that section?
We're still going to styrofoam the concession street.
Do you remember, can you tell us the savings on that one, Peter? Or hydro, whatever? Heat, I guess it is, sorry.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, the council comment, depending on the weather again, but our gas bill is extremely high. It ranges from $1,200 to $1,500 a month in the coldest time of winter, so it made kind of sense to spray some insulation and try to save some money in the gas bill. That's why we brought it to the budget, but it is dear to heat that building as it is old and everyone's aware of that. And there's not much insulation left on either end walls of the building, so.
So a few years ago, there's a money in a reserve there for a coverall building, and the idea of the coverall building was to get the equipment out of the weather. I see it still in there, that 25,000. I'm just wondering, now that we're using Midtown to get the equipment out of the weather, I'm just wondering if there's a way of taking that. It was dedicated for a coverall building. Is there a way of converting that over to help with, like, pull it out of there? Because it's been in there for 5 years at least. Maybe now's the time to say, you know what, we didn't have Midtown at the time. It is nice to see the equipment out of the weather. Maybe take that reserve and put it towards that, that work that needs done at Midtown, and whatever's left over, put it back into something else. But just a thought. Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. I'm not understanding it at all. I get that Midtown Auto is storing vehicles, but they're not working out of there. They're working still out of the 6th line. So I'm just not understanding why we need to do all these repairs to that building and why there is even gas on in there. Like, why are we heating it for a storage of a vehicle?
Through you, Mayor Martin, to Councillor Flagler. So all of like our single axle truck, our sidewalk machine,
Yes,
we have
I
a
get
tandem, everything in there needs to be heated. So when it goes out, it's the chains aren't froze. I mean, we can sand. If we store the truck outside, with sand and the chain would freeze. It just.
Right, but if it's stored inside, it shouldn't be still freezing.
If it was below 0, it'd still freeze, yeah.
Just for clarity, are we insulating the whole place up there?
No, yes.
Just,
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin, just the 2 end walls,
but what, like, if I walk in up there, is it heated the whole place?
Yes, so through you, Mayor Martin, so just the Quonset hut, the old Trentway alignment building. That's
The whole Quonset hut is heated?
The whole Quonset hut is heated.
Because I think what we're getting at is, understand your point about the trucks, but it's still a big building, and I don't think it's filled front to back with trucks. So maybe if we had an area that was partitioned off that we have to heat, I know whatever, but I'm just.
It is full.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, it's full from front to back.
I'll
So
put a bumper in there.
Okay, I'm just, because you guys are just the plow guys or whatever. If I have a plow and I park it inside in a covered building with no heat, you're telling me when I go to use it, I'm not gonna be able to use it?
It's not the plow, it's the sander unit.
Well, what's wrong with the sander unit?
They freeze up like when.
But it's inside. So if it's -5 or -6 inside, you're telling me once I start that car and let it run for the truck for 10 minutes, it's not gonna work? Like, this is, I know where we're going here. Like, here we're basically letting our equipment sit in 70-degree temperatures everywhere, right?
It's
Like,
not, what do you keep it at, Peter?
well, whatever it is, I'm
Yeah.
just saying it's money. That doesn't really need to be. And I understand the point of it, that yes, I'd like to just go and get in my truck and jump and whatever. But God, if I had to thaw something for 5 minutes or something, to me, that's not the end of the world. Instead of, insulating a place that, to Councillor Flagler's point, maybe doesn't need to be insulated. Probably more needs to be torn down before it needs to be insulated, right? So
through you, Mayor Martin, maybe I can add some clarity. So it's not the cab that we're worried about freezing. It's the actual chain and the spreader and the spinners and stuff that won't. And there's no way to thaw them out unless you put it in a heated garage. Like, if they're froze, because the main chain is all in covered, so you can't just take a torch and thaw it out. Like, it's gonna take quite a bit of time to thaw
I
that.
put a truck in
How
a
did you
garage.
do it before? How did you do it before?
through Mayor Martin, so we had a lot of, our backhoe was sitting outside, our grader was sitting outside, we had a lot of equipment sitting outside that didn't have the chain spinning, so every truck that we have or had that plowed or sanded, we made sure it was inside and we put other equipment outside, so that stuff was inside.
So it was heated down here on the 6th line then,
That's correct, yeah.
and it was heated in behind the, oh, what the heck?
The
is
fire
it?
hall.
Thank you.
Yeah, we had, yes, and again, we used the back of the fire halls. That's a good point. Yeah, we had our sidewalk machine in there and also a single axle.
Right, and they're heated buildings
Yeah.
back in behind there.
Yep, that's correct.
That's crazy.
So we've been using it since we got it, but we are getting to a point that if we're not gonna use that building, I'd be willing to look for a motion that we sell the building, sell the property, and let's, cause it's not getting done. Like it's, the whole idea was a new work yard and, office building that we were gonna work towards, but, if we're not gonna use the property for what it was meant for, it's coming close that we're gonna, get rid of the thing, because it's, nobody has an appetite for anything like that. So, that's gonna be another day's discussion, but for today, if we want to pull the insulation off of there, that's what we're here for, and that's can be done, and turn the heat off. So,
Well, I'm just
No, I know.
trying
Yeah.
to get some knowledge around here. As I said, I'm not a tow truck driver, but I think any normal person that if you told them you had to put a truck inside a heated building, otherwise it wouldn't work, they'd say, it doesn't make any sense.
no, so
You're
it's
driving it around all day in the snow while you're plowing.
so like Peter's saying, move the backhoe outside, the grader outside, put them all outside, put everything else down at the 6th line like we used to do, and put this stuff that's from the parks back in the arena, and
I'm not.
that's no. But that's-
I didn't say any of that. Right? All I'm saying is.
No, but if we're gonna shut the heat off, we might as well shut her down.
Why? Why?
There's other things in there like water and stuff like that, that if you shut her down, I guess you can leave that area heated, possibly, Peter. You can't just shut it down unless you winterize it and make it so it's not gonna freeze up, because there is water in there and sewer, so.
I didn't want to get off on a huge tangent.
No.
I was just concerned, as they said, because
Yeah.
other people have questioned me about that, about using that up there in terms of how many people are working there. The guys that use the whole new building know it's not weighted very well, so they know we're pumping money into it, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to, like you said, get
Okay.
kind of answers here for some of this.
Yeah.
And if Pete tells me he needs, I understand. That's why I'm asking you. I didn't know there was a chain on it and the chain freezes and.
Okay, Jerry and then Kathy.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So let me understand that the 6th line is jammed.
It's got nothing.
So what's in there that could come out to put those 2 items in there where it's heated, to take something out of the 6th line and put it up there? Or are we reserving concession street for the items that we'd use in the village right away?
So through you, Mayor Martin, so the grader could come out of down at the 6th line shop. That we'd have to go back to using the back of the fire hall to put our single axle in. Because we only have 3 bay doors at 6th line shop that will actually fit a tandem and a wing. So, and we still have 3 tandems. We actually have 4 tandems and a single axle, but they're all the same width. So there, we can only fit 3 tandems inside at the 6th line shop. We'd have to ask Ray to use the back of the fire hall again to put the single axle in, as well as our sidewalk machine. The grader and the backhoe would be outside and a tandem would be outside. If we quit using the Midtown building.
I didn't say quit using it. I just said reshuffle the equipment.
Yeah.
So if you got it all inside now and we reshuffle it, we're going to have stuff outside?
Or put it inside the Midtown. Put the grader and stuff in.
The grader wouldn't go in Midtown?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, it would now go inside with the new door on. Yes, that's correct.
Yeah, we put a new door on last year to get the equipment in.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we can look at that. Go ahead, Kathy.
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, so previous tow truck owner operator. So So like the sidewalk plow, it has to be inside. It has to be. So if you take it down to the 6th line, or down there, how do you get it back here when we had a storm and you're trying to clean sidewalks?
What's that going to mean?
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Mark, we'd be driving it back and forth if we weren't able to utilize the back of the fire hall again. We'd be driving it back and forth because we don't have a flow.
So it was in the fire hall before, and that'll be the question for the next meeting. If you can bring it back to see if there's a way of juggling the equipment. To make everything work.
I don't know, I will let everybody, my whole thing is, as I said, I don't understand, I don't wanna be paying exorbitant hydro or gas or hydro, whatever we're paying here to store, our equipment in whatever, 70-degree weather. And you say it's not 70, 30, whatever it is, it's costing money. And to your point, so whatever it is, like, I don't know, I can't see having one of these things in a building and have it not work when it comes out. I'm gonna have to go through an exercise to actually see this, because I don't know.
So for the next meeting, Peter, if you could bring back something to see if we can juggle the equipment around and we could shut the heat down. Maybe that would be an option rather than do this insulation.
Yeah, and through you, Mayor Martin, yes, I mean, it's just a suggestion from staff that, if we're gonna keep utilizing this building for a few years to come, that it was gonna, help reduce some cost on the gas. So, I mean, if you want to take it out, I mean, we can still, monitor the heat, but it is only for the 2 or 3 months of the winter months that, the gas usage is so high because of the weather, obviously. So
My whole thing is that I was under the impression that we had people actually working in the building, which I'm hearing we don't. So it's a storage equipment place. And my only question would be, even if it wasn't here, I would say, why would we heating a place storing equipment? So
In the winter, they work out of there as far as the sidewalk plow and the town plow, right?
yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, so so Ryan, our foreman, and an operator go to that. So I mean, they do the village, the streets, the sidewalks, and that kind of thing. So that's where their equipment is based, and that's where they go, right? So it's
understood. And I'm not, after all that, like I said, I'm not really too concerned about the price for that was a pretty good price actually for the installation. So, and I get that part of it, but I was just concerned about, as I said, the heating and whatnot's going on, especially when you're telling me that you didn't know the heating bill was that high. So that's really got me. Thank you. Sorry for that, Peter.
Okay. So any other questions with regards to that? If you could bring back the, if you can use the fire hall and things like that too, like just to see if that's feasible.
We just bought 2 new pieces of equipment for the fire hall, so he may have a different view.
Yeah. Just look into it.
yeah, so through you, Mayor Martin, to that point, that we did share the cost with Ray too, because we were using his, so.
Yeah.
I mean, the cost sharing that we did for the gas for the back of the fire hall, I mean, it's being put towards the Midtown now, so I can get some better numbers for you, but yeah.
Thank you. All right, so next on here we have sewer and waste, but I see Amber and company here, so maybe we could just jump over and speak to Aqua with regards to your portion here. We don't keep you waiting.
Yeah, I'll just stand.
I've seen the meter running behind you. I better get you up here. Amber, you want to go in here?
Then I can. Could I just make a comment about the last, because I'm here again? The one item that we're going to talk about for water is the 150,000, which I know is the biggest topic for the water. And that's to replace either well 3 or the new well itself. We are looking into digging a new well near Midtown. So my suggestion would be, before you consider shutting it down, maybe leave it open, but at the same time, the cost to heat well 3, it's a large building and you're paying probably a fair amount of money to heat it. It's on its last leg, so it might be something that could help Peter with the storage and potentially a new well. So if I could just make the comment, maybe not to just shut Midtown down quite yet.
That's good. That's good information.
Okay, thank you. Okay. You're saying that, I'm writing it down. I'm like, oh.
That's good.
So I can help Peter along with that and maybe provide the well 3's heating costs. I think it's done by your township, but I can definitely help with the fees of running, keeping well 3 underground. That might help with the installation. So, I'll speak to water first, if that's fine. I'm not sure what page that is in English, but.
Yeah, I don't have pages on.
84.
Thank you. I just have mine too. I'm sorry, we were a bit early. We heard events. Yeah, we couldn't expect it in a week for us. I've brought M.A. Hennessy with me, who's my business development manager, and Gordon Easton, who's a water and wastewater subject matter expert. So starting off for Havelock, you may not think so, but we've kept it pretty modest this year because there is a lot of work that's going to be requested for water and wastewater. The biggest topic, like I said, is item 14 and 15, which is 150,000. Pardon me.
What page? Yeah.
Chair, I think what Amber is speaking to is the capital on page 139. Or sorry, we're doing water on 41, then the capital will be 141.
Okay.
Thanks.
Like you. It is on.
I started with sewer. Sorry, was that my fault? So, starting with water, like I said, the biggest item on our list is number 14 and 15. They are not to be combined. It's one or the other. The idea is to explore a new source to replace well 3. And for this year would be 150,000. That would be for a test well and for a hydrogeological study. Or you can go with the option of number 15, which is well 3 major maintenance, which is in and around the same amount of 150,000, just to get it back up to specs. There's a lot of items that need to be upgraded. They've been kind of set aside for a while just because it's a backup well and it's been treated as such. It does operate if needed in an emergency and it produces water, but it's just kind of a backup well. It's quite old and it needs a lot of upgrades. So for your consideration, those are 2 items. I guess the main topic of today's water discussion is to pick either one for the capital. When discussing, was there questions in between? So for items 1 through 6, these are annual maintenance that needs to be completed for compliance. So I can go into them. It's just UV annual maintenance. We have to do a health and safety on our lifting devices when we do confined spaces. The flow meters need to be calibrated every year. Diesel needs to be maintained. Backflow preventers need to be approved for every year. We're not doing any sludge hauling from well 3 this year, so you'll see that's a 0. For items 7 through to 11 are just our maintenance parts, things that need to be upgraded. We keep a running number and a tally just so that it's consistent across the board and we're not sending a large number every 3 to 5 years. The reference sensor calibration doesn't need, it's only every 3 years, so you'll notice it's a 0 this year. We do need to replace an isolation valve at well 1 and 4. So that item's been there. And the Havelock water tower does need repairs with the hatch. We've had this is, I think, been going on for 2 or 3 years. It's been an argument back and forth with the design engineer and myself, not Aqua, just myself. And I did, it's not something I'm really happy about. So I've been canvassing a bunch of other companies to try and figure out a better way. The cost was actually double, I believe, last time. So I've gotten it down to a company that can do a robot and come in and potentially repair the hatch through a little floating RV system. That's the price that they've given me in hopes that that would repair it. And then I have on number 16 is replace the hydrants. That's around 3 hydrants a year is what we usually try to repair or replace if we have any faulty hydrants. That was actually, I believe, the number last year. And then we just always add a contingency for emergency breakdowns that I can't foresee. So the total is 213,000, but when you remove the 150, it's actually just 63 of my typical capital maintenance, and then we've just added the 150 for the decision on the new well or repair well 3. Question.
Hi, Amber. Through you, Mayor Martin. So to replace number 14, to replace well 3, so you're talking about putting it up beside the water tower? That's what
you, Mayor Martin, that's our goal is, so you may remember that Cambium came into the last council meeting and they did a full overview, or I guess it's called a desktop analysis. So it's like a hydro G study, but it's through their desktop. The hydro G study is actually invasive and that's why it's going to cost a little bit more. But they've potentially found a viable source just near the water tower, which is right near Midtown. It is Esker that actually connects to the Norwood water, and they have really good water use.
Money we've sunk into well 3 has been crazy, so.
Good.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just further to what the mayor's saying, if we do go through with the replacement and bring in the new well, is anything coming off this list? Because I know we're, to the mayor's point, we put a lot of, whether it's UV lights or whatever we're buying for well 3 over here that we're not really using.
Yeah.
So is there any extra stuff here that would come off?
Through you, Mayor Martin, not this year, just because we'd have to have the well in place to have that, but you would notice.
Eventually it'll open.
Eventually, yes, you would see, and I can just do this probably fairly quick off the top of my head. The flow meter would be cut in half. The diesel maintenance would be cut in half. The backflow preventers, half. Well 3 sludge would be removed. Chlorine parts, half. Trojan would stay. The howlets would be removed. I'm going down the list. Is this you following? Okay. And then consumable parts would stay. It's just a matter of the well itself. So say the well is perfectly clean and we don't need any UV, then you would only pay for well 1 and 4's UV. But if it needed a UV system, which I'm sure it will, you'll get that.
Exactly. Oh.
You'll see quite a. At the end of the day, I think it's the time that's spent at well 3 that you'll see a reduction for sure. It's pretty labor intensive when it needs to run.
And just sorry through to me, it's pretty cut and dry in terms of the decision, what's there, and you're the water expert, so I mean, we'd be pretty stupid not to go ahead and have we got the okay from Cambrian or whoever?
Yes, so through you, Mayor, I'm pretty upset that I came to you today and to tell you that I wasn't able to get a test well done in 2024. I think that was a motion. I was pretty excited, but Cambium and myself were on board. I just couldn't get the well tech to commit. So Cambium and Aqua are on board to get it done. My goal is to have a discussion with the well tech and make sure that that gets done this spring if it was something that we wanted to pursue. You'll see that the prices are fairly similar. I've done that in a way so that it's a fair comparison and you can make a better decision. But if it was up to me and you were to ask me, I would be a cheerleader for item number 14.
Yeah, the new well, yeah, I know, just the number, it's half the price, right? And we're gonna get a new well instead of an old broken well that we don't use, so. Thank you.
Question to you, Mr. How often do we use well 3? How, like last year or the year before, or is it consistent, or is there any consistency at all?
So through you, Mayor Martin, for well 3, it's online all the time. So we use it, it's a backup well, but should the well 1 and 4 ever quit, we're able to run right away. For it to be in full operation, I'm just gonna look back to Jordan. Would you say about a month or 2 of full operation when we were trying to do the potassium permanganate study? Yeah. So maybe about 3 months steady last year that it ran. It actually ran, like we operated it to we could only get 3 liters a second.
Yeah.
We're supposed to get 13 or so. Yeah.
Okay,
No.
thank you.
Any other questions for Amber? Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Amber, if I missed this. So at what stage of the game do we have to make a choice between 14 and 15? So you said it's either 14 or 15 on this list.
Correct. So through you, Mayor Martin, for Aqua to that's good question. I'm not sure the question, but I'm not sure. I want to make sure I understand the answer. I can begin working with the test well and hydro study, for example, in the spring, and I think the estimate for that was around 40,000, maybe 60 now. So it could be piecemealed, as in you may not have to approve the 150 right away. You could approve piecemealing. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Well, item 14 is showing $3 million costs between years 27 to 30, I guess. And item 15 shows a $5 million cost. So those are two different projects,
Correct, sorry.
and it was one or the other. So my question is, when do we choose one or the other?
Thank you, that helps. So through you, Mayor Martin, your decision probably would be best suited after this year. If we do the test well for the new source and it was determined that it's not going to be a viable source, then you would have to jump down to item number 15 potentially.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks.
So I think first choice is number 14. I think it makes sense, but
Exactly. In a perfect world, the source is perfect and we're going to carry on.
yeah, so. Okay. Any other questions around that?
You want me to jump to sewer?
Sure.
And sewer? Oh, sewer. Capital.
139.
Okay, so again, you may have noticed we've kept the capital cost for the wastewater fairly modest just because of the second table. That's going to be quite a chunk of money for the upgrades to the wastewater system. So from the top section of the spreadsheet, you'll notice again that items 1 through 7 are your annual maintenance. These are things that need to be done to keep the plant in full operation. Items 11 and 12 are just consumables. So these are parts that maybe we have on the shelf and then we get used, so we have to replace them. Number 16 is a spare aeration valve. We have some, it's just we need another one for the shelf. And item 22 is a digester clean out. So it's time. So I think it's like every 3 to 5 years we digester clean out.
Might even be longer than that, like 5
Yeah.
to 10 years.
Right, okay. So it's just due for a clean out and the estimate was around 5,000. Making it a total, including the contingency of 52,000 for the wastewater in 2025. We've done our best to keep it modest just because of the upgrades that are needed.
Go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Is there any funding for our new pump if we put one up here at the Midtown Auto? Is there funding out there for that type?
Through you, Mayor Martin, for the water plant, I definitely will be going for that. Yeah,
You'll be
absolutely.
looking for it?
Yeah, Aqua, like the agency I work for, I've been here actually for 20 years this year. Funny enough, I mean, I think like 19 of them have been with Havelock, so. The agency is really good. It's in all Ontario and they have people up in the corporate office that do nothing but look for the
Okay,
I do also know that, you know, there's engineering firms out there that are quite good at it too. So when we do say the test well and the hydro-G study and everything looks good and it looks like something that's going to be viable for the town, we would definitely be applying for funding. Yeah,
thank you.
absolutely.
Any other questions? No. So appreciate that you're trying to speak Ripley here. So. Okay, go ahead.
So through you, Mayor Martin, if I could ask Amber, or maybe you need this isn't the operating side.
Okay.
And there's quite an increase on that, on the repairs and maintenance on page 74. It's an increase of $16,000. And speak to that just get some more background on the inspections.
I have my notes in front of me, but I'm just trying to find the right spot. I'm not finding it, so we're gonna do this. The CLI ECA, it's a linear infrastructure environmental compliance approval. It's been initiated and brought forward by the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. It's new to all municipalities. It's been, I think it was finalized at the end of 2023, and it's in place right now for your systems in 2024. The two systems that they're focusing on is the collection system, which is your sewer lines, sewer pumping stations, as well as your stormwater system. So stormwater has never been something that's been kind of on the ministry's radar, and now it's on the ministry's radar, and they're more or less, if you think of, I have to think of a big town to make this make sense to me. So let's use, for example, the wastewater system in Belleville. They will occasionally bypass right into Lake Ontario. It's the same as sewers or your stormwater systems. You have to make sure that the lines in the stormwater that goes to the Lake Ontario are clean. And they've never been monitored, they've never been sampled. It's just not something that has ever been on the ministry's radar. Well, now it is. So every system that has a stormwater system has to be under this environmental compliance approval. They've issued some targets or deliverables that are required under the township's ownership. They're new. Thankfully, Aqua, like I said, is quite big, and a lot of these larger cities have already jumped on these, so I can kind of piggyback off of that. And we have an operations manual in place that needs to be issued for stormwater and for collection. You also need a sampling program for stormwater and collection. You're going to need emergency situations. So you would do like a trigger point that if you get a certain amount of rainfall, the stormwater needs to be collected and sampled. The collection system needs to also be collected and sampled. They've just really defined the terms where it was pretty vague before. So now this is something that the township is actually in ownership of right now. And there are deliverables and targets that were in 2024. I had some documents prepared just in the event that an inspection did come, just to cover us. It's not on Aqua right now though, so that's why I was just making sure. They have a monitoring plan that they haven't issued yet. So the ministry has given you this license and said you have to start operating per the approval. But then is it called a monitoring plan? I feel like I've lost the name. I'm sorry. No, it's okay. It's a terms of reference. Sorry, there's a terms of reference that defines everything. They haven't even given that to us yet. It's not ready, but they've given you this to comply for. So I don't expect an inspection anytime soon, just because I think that they have to finish up their documentation, but I do have some things ready, but I also need to make sure that you'd like us to take this on if that was something you were interested in. So Peter has been in discussions with Wes Henneberry, who's kind of spearheaded it at the very beginning. He has a really good understanding of what's included and what's needed. It is something that is going to happen, and it is going to take place, and inspections from the ministry will begin. So it needs to be decided if the township would like to take it on and own it, or Aqua's happy to operate it on your behalf. It would just be a discussion under the O&M. I feel like I might have complicated that more than I needed to.
Especially confused.
I in front of me, I just lost them, so.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just add through you, Mr. Mayor. So the contract between Aqua and the township does expire December 31st, 2025. So we will be, I'll be reaching out to Bob in the next month to start those discussions. But this is something that we need to make sure we comply with what needs to happen in 2024. And then we can include it as part of the agreement if you want in 2025. So for 2024, it would be a separate item that we can deal with, but we'll discuss whether we want to add it permanently into our service.
So for us, is this like Plateau Creek would be our, like where, it goes, like you said, like Ontario for some of the cities, ours more goes into a creek if there's a dump happen.
Yeah, through you, yes, Mr. Mayor, sorry, I must say through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, that's correct. It is Plateau Creek. There is one, I've researched your system, and as far as I understand, there's one main stormwater drain that comes out, and so that's probably the viewpoint for the ministry that they would start.
Question on that. So Peter, you, like, we have Aqua doing everything. Is that something that you're hoping for, that it'll be included in part of the contract?
Yes, sir. Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, I think that it would kind of go hand in hand. Yes, yeah, so Wes has helped us out a lot with getting our appliance and approvals, and yeah, he's very familiar with our system and deals with the ministry on a regular basis. So it would definitely, in my point of view, make sense for sure.
Okay. Right.
So sorry, so what is the cost to us for 2025? Which line am I looking at? Back here, sorry.
Through you, Mayor Martin, if we go to page 74, Amber wouldn't, I believe would have this, but if we go to page 74, so it's in the repairs and maintenance section. Yeah, so there's a change.
Sewer water.
Sewer, page 74.
It's on,
Yeah.
yours.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the operating side, Amber, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we guesstimated at 2 inspections at an approximate cost of $8,000 each.
Yeah, Mayor Martin, that what we discussed is just for this year to try and get an understanding and to make, I guess, be ready for the inspections, because we are a bit behind, is that we just decided between 8,000 each would kind of cover off the O&M manual, all the pre-phase documentation that's needed to get us in the right position. And then inspections included. So we guessed around 8,000 each. That's just an overhead. If we don't charge that much, we won't.
Just one question. So, it's under repairs and maintenance and sewer page, correct? It says 35,000 for budget for this year.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so the change from the previous year is 16.
Yeah, it was 19 last time.
Yeah, the budget was 19 for
Yes.
2024. So yeah, so we've added this, we're up to 35.
So you're adding another 16,000
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
for, you said you only did the 2 last year. Are you doing like 6 this year?
We've never done it before.
Oh, you've never done it before.
So the 19
Oh,
would
this
have
is the
been
new-
something
Yeah.
This is
previous.
the new not sewer, stormwater.
Correct.
Right? Oh, okay. Thank you.
And then if there's no questions, just my final update is the generator on Highway 7. We're making headway. The generator is obviously on delay. You would hope to have it a little sooner, but this is the way the world works. So everything's ready to go. We're ready to put it in as soon as we get the generator, and then you'll receive that bill, but you won't see it because it's in our O&M, but I just wanted to give you an update.
Good. Thank you, Amber. Is there any questions? Or? That's good.
Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Are you guys going to Roma? With Aqua at Roma?
Yes, I will be there.
Okay.
I'll be reaching out this week.
All right,
Okay, so we can see each other hopefully.
all right,
Bring your card.
all right.
Thank you.
You good?
Yes, have a good week.
And discount card. And a $2 million job. 10% off.
All right then, so. Where are we now, Peter? Then
Sorry.
go back into the sewer capital, and like we kind of covered a lot of, I think we've covered pretty well everything you had on here. Are there any questions for Peter with regards to that? Always good to have an Aqua come in and explain it.
You're right on the ball, because I would have asked that question. You knew I was going to.
All right, that's the
Okay.
end of today's. So there's we will have another budget meeting as far as like, if there's any fine tuning or we gotta get some numbers coming back at us, a couple of questions. Go ahead.
Through Chair, I have about 4 housekeeping items that we have to make motions for. It's for multiple sort of departments that are for assessment stuff. I'd be happy to bring those to council for the next meeting if you want to have lunch.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll bring them to the next meeting then? Okay. All right then, so for today's meeting, if there's no other questions, I'll look for the confirming bylaw. Moved by Kathy, second by Deb,
Sure.
all in favor? And that's carried, and the motion to adjourn is moved by Art and second by Jerry.
Thank you.